Hello, what is up, everybody? We are live. I'm gonna play some Oxygen Not Included, talk to anybody who comes on in, do our thing.
Woo.
Aurora's here. Aurora, say hello.
What's up?
Actually, do you want to watch that new Mikey and Wyatt real quick first?
So, sounds awesome.
All right, let's do that.
This is why you don't miss the morning stream.
Does my camera look darker here?
A
Right
little
now?
bit, yeah. I don't know why.
Let me see.
Your screen brightness is down, like mine was.
Yeah, my camera. I wonder if there's like software. Hang on.
I think it improved. I turned up my brightness.
Let me see.
I mean, I'm good with it, but
It's just darker
get
than it
all
should be.
dolled up
Oh,
now.
let me turn off the camera real quick. Okay. Okay. Let's see if this will fix it.
Ugh, is it Monday yet? Goodness.
Video settings. What camera is this again?
You got this.
What camera am I fucking using?
Hurry. Just kidding. Low pressure.
Camera settings. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay, so now let's turn up the brightness. Let's see how this looks. Is that better?
Looks good. You get the stream to open.
Really?
Yeah. I'll try again.
Okay, so yeah, I guess the new position I had to change the lighting up a little bit, but it looks back to normal now. Okay.
Great. Good times were had by some.
Mm-hmm. Freedom. Freedom. Get your Chase Freedom card.
Beta!
Oh, rude. Unbelievably rude.
That's me. Totally rude.
So rude. Oh, let me jump way ahead. Okay, am I pretty well centered on the stream?
Still can't open it.
What?
I think my computer is just fucked. Let me restart and just cancel every tab I thought I knew.
Every time I thought I knew.
BRB, I guess.
See you in a second. Move this over a little more. wonder how I'm coming through for stream. I think I'm doing okay. I think I'm coming through decently well. Oh, that's right. She's restarting the computer. She ain't even here. I might as well start. Oxygen not included while we wait. Not gonna let him have me know. Hi.
Hello.
Is it working?
I don't know. I got on here first. No, this is epic failure. Let's be cursed.
Weird.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on it.
In the meantime, you can pull it up on your phone.
True. Also, I'm gonna cross over now.
Crossover.
Forever
To the
too
other
soon,
side.
I'm sure.
Hello?
Hey.
Okay. Ooh. Very pixelated. Weird. Must be the radiation.
The radiation.
Wow, it was my cell service. Well, I guess there we have it.
Oh.
Mistakes were made by me.
Mistakes were made.
It's like I have unlimited, but should I? You don't actually have good unlimited. You might have access, but not like use. Some cars need to be illegal. They're so loud and stupid and useless. Hottakes.com.
Chat. Okay. Let me see. No. Save the settings. Oh, yeah, give me a second. I need 7 more boosts to get to level 3 for this server. Okay, that's difficult for now. That's probably not going to happen. Rolls. Okay. Okay. Embedding links is turned on. Let's see. Manage roll. Okay. Apply. Cool. I don't know why that link didn't embed. But whatever, not a big deal. Let's see, what were we doing? We was gonna bring Mika on camera, that's right. Mikachu. Mikachu. Come here, baby. Come and say hello. Oh, Aurora's gone. I don't know what she's doing. But Mika's coming on camera. Just as requested. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Look who it is. I wonder if I can get one of these, but for her,
Oh.
like a dog one.
Ooh, I'm looking pixelated again.
You're looking
That's
clear
good.
to me. It does that to me
Oh.
sometimes too. I wonder if I can get
Weird.
like a custom doggy clothes of this for her too. She can wear that during stream. What do you think
I
about
bet
that? What do you
could.
think about that? Huh? Mwah. Who's a good girl? Who's a good girl? Ow.
I mean, we
Ow.
can ask the artist about it.
Go ahead, babes.
Love you, Mika. Give her a peanut.
Oh, I already gave her a peanut, but I'll give her another peanut. Here you go, baby. There you go. Go ahead.
Good
Go ahead.
behavior.
Go ahead. Good
So
girl.
Destiny's opened.
Yeah.
Yours. Wait, now I see. No, I clicked yours and it's still showing his.
Huh?
I feel like your stream hates me.
You said you clicked my stream and it's showing Destiny's stream?
So I clicked Destiny's and it actually will work.
Yeah.
So then I'll go back and try to click your name and oh, for fuck's sake. After like 15 times of clicking back and forth, it finally opened.
Weird.
Okay, I'll switch back there because I think I'd prefer that.
Okay.
This is very fun. Hopefully.
Okay.
Alright, and then we'll watch Mikey and Riot.
That sounds good.
Oh, let me turn this audio off so it's not in the background while we're doing that. Let me know when you're watching. I'll press play.
And okay.
Okay.
So, how do you guys feel about cruises? No. I have watched way too many documentaries to ever want to go on a
Got
cruise.
it.
Oh, yeah. That Netflix poop one? Disgusting.
I'm sorry, there's a Netflix poop cruise documentary?
Yeah, they won an Oscar. Whoa! Andrew! What's up, Mike?
Bye.
Hey, Mikey.
Pop it out.
Tyandra, what are you guys doing here?
Come sit.
Excuse me?
So proud of you.
What?
Did you just tell me to come shit? No, I think she said... Hey! Buddy, don't need your help. This is between me and love of my life, so... Shut the fuck up. What was that, babe? What'd you say?
I said come sit.
What?
Like, in a chair.
Come sit in the chair, babe. Sorry, that makes so much sense. Yes, coming now, babe. So what are you stupid goobers talking about?
Well, last night after work, I ran into Diandra, and she was asking me if we would want to go on a couples trip with her and Andrew.
Did you say a couples trip?
Yeah, I mean, doesn't it sound like a really fun idea?
A couples trip.
Do you not like the idea?
Ah. Dandra, is this your idea?
Yeah, it was.
Wow, I didn't know you felt that way about me. What?
Mikey, I think you guys are a really fun couple.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, yeah, we certainly are. Sit up, babe. But you guys must be a fun couple too. Couples trips. Do you guys do a lot of couples trips?
Yeah, I mean, we just went on one with my boss last weekend.
That's so fun.
Hot, her boss.
What?
I know. What?
I mean, I wouldn't say it was hot. It was fun.
Nice. Nice little promotion.
No, it's just, work trip, whole company was there.
Company trip. Oh,
This is so
that's a
painful.
lot of couples.
And we went on one with my cousins last week.
Aw, family time?
With your cousins?
Yeah, we try to do it like 3 times a year.
Yeah, I love his cousins. Gosh, they're into so much stuff.
Can't get enough of them.
That's fucking disgusting.
Oh,
What's up?
It's kind of fucking weird now.
It's not that weird. It's just family trip.
You from the South?
No, East Coast.
Okay. Sorry. Where are my manners, babe? Are you sure you're cool with this?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to take a trip for the weekend.
Canceled.
Andrew, you? You're sure you're cool
Canceled.
with this?
We brought it up.
I mean, listen, built like an ox, but you're not worried about being outperformed?
Oh my god.
What?
Like, you're not saying you're cool with it now, then you're just gonna, like, punch me in the throat once I start, really couples tripping it up?
Punch him in the throat just cause.
Mikey, why are you asking everybody if they're cool with it?
Well, it's just, I mean, I don't know, I guess
It was their idea. They wanna hang out with us.
I personally, and I thank you for allowing me to be on the couples trip. I'm just not sure I'm ready to give you permission yet.
What?
permission?
Permission for what? To get on the flight?
Oh, I got you. Yeah. Talking about it too much. My bad. New to the couples trips. Let's just talk about where we're gonna go first. Where do we want to go?
Oh my god.
Andrew actually had a really great idea on the way over.
Ooh,
Okay. So, well, I was thinking.
Spain. Nude beach, Spain.
I'm thinking we go to Iceland. Because around this time of year, you can see the northern lights.
Oh my god, I've always wanted to see the northern lights.
Oh, the northern lights. Wow, the colors in the sky. Nah, fuck that.
Mikey.
Let's go somewhere hot, right?
Okay.
Beaches, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, far away from
You know
me.
what? Why don't we go to the Bahamas?
Yes.
Yes! Bikini weather, babe! Nice! Let's do it! None of that Antarctica bullshit!
Okay, yeah. We agree. I like that. I like the Bahamas idea.
You're a fucking pervert, dude.
Mikey.
What?
Say one more goddamn word to my girlfriend, I swear to God I will call the cops and tell them you sexually harassed me.
Fucking relax.
I'm sorry, I'm just not sure if I'm comfortable with this side of the deal yet.
What deal? What are you talking about?
What?
What deal?
I'm talking about the plan, babe. Why am I the only one talking about the deal, the couples trip? I'm talking about the couples trip.
Mikey, what the fuck are you talking about?
The deal, me fucking Deandra, okay? Duh. I'm just not sure I'm cool with him doing that to you yet, because I love you. Fuck.
Oh my god.
Obviously. Are the Pats playing today, by the way? Nobody knows?
Excuse me?
It's the playoffs, so it's a Saturday or Sunday thing. I'm just kidding. What's going on?
Did you just say you wanted to have sex with Diandra?
Yes!
Nice.
What are you talking about, Mikey?
The couples trip. What are you guys talking about?
We're talking about a couples trip.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Then what's wrong with what I said?
We're not.
Yeah, then we're all on the same page. Yes, the couples trip.
Mikey, we're talking about a couples trip.
And I'm saying yes, I'm in. Let's go on a couples trip.
We're not talking about a couples trip.
Boom.
We're saying a couples trip. We're not swinging.
Are you hearing yourself? You sound like you're speaking Japanese. Yes, I'm down for the couples trip.
A vacation, Mikey.
We're going on a fucking vacation.
2 couples on a vacation together.
There was never any sex. Ever.
Oh. Yeah, I'm good then. I don't really want to go on a fucking vacation. Whew. We doing dinner or something? Let's.
Oh my god. Alright, let's see. Destiny versus AJW. Watch this while I play. I'll put that up here. Oh, I kind of want to be able to see that portion of the screen. So let me move it here. There we go.
For your scenario to work, you have to not tell the truth.
This is why I don't think that it's worth it for Walls to take like the ultra kind position and to say, oh, there should be no violence and protest, because people like Sean and all the other Republicans will constantly mischaracterize every single thing they say.
Steven, Sean, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So Sean, I'll start with you. I come at this from the perspective of somebody who is not anti-ICE, not anti-law enforcement, but always critical of any time you have government officials obviously using lethal force against citizens, as I think we all should be. But when I look at this latest shooting that is dividing everybody, the shooting of Alex Priddy, and we've all seen the different video angles, it seems to me, given that he was disarmed before they shot him, given the fact that there were multiple agents restraining him, pushing him towards the ground, it seems to me like an unjustified shooting that could potentially be considered prosecuted for either murder or manslaughter at some point. But where are you at on this shooting?
Right. So, like, essentially, there are good shoots and bad shoots in terms of legality, but there's like shootings like this that exist in maybe like a moral gray area, because we know with the benefit of hindsight that they got the firearm away from him. Now, there's a lot of speculation that the firearm that the guy had, Alex Priddy, is one of these defective firearms that will like often improperly discharge, and I've seen video that makes the case that that has happened. It's not confirmed as far as I know, but if you have officers yelling gun, 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 then you get the gun removed, and not every officer knows that. Hopefully in that situation people start shouting clear so that they know that the gun is gone, but then you hear a gunshot seconds later and then people respond to that gunshot. You're in a situation where somebody who died shouldn't have died, obviously, and it's a tragedy, but it's not a crime, it's not a murder, it's not a manslaughter, because they're responding to circumstances in that moment, and legally this is how we judge those standards. That being said, it is tragic. Like, I wish this guy would not have gotten shot in this scenario. It's just that's what it looks like happened as of right now.
Oh, it looks like this
All right,
guy
Steven,
just
your
thought he was
perspective
gonna
on this.
Yeah, so I
die
mean, unless there's
accidentally.
more circumstances that I'm not aware of, I just don't see any reason why the officers would have interpreted him as being a threat. We've heard a lot of crazy things from this administration, from Kristi Noem, from the guy who just got fired, but I want to say Bongino, but it's not him. Bovino?
Yeah.
Greg
the guy
Bovino.
who was the commander, the commander of the at-large forces for ICE, and then Trump himself has, been posting on Truth and everything that this guy was attacking officers and was brandishing his weapon and acting in a threatening manner, and I just don't see that anywhere. I don't see how this cop could have ever thought that this person was a threat. There's a lot of questionable stuff leading up to the altercation, to where he's, pushing this guy, pepper spraying him. I really just don't see any justification. There's some things that you can kind of be on the wall with, but for this particular shoot, I don't see how it was an ethical or a legal shoot when one considers the totality of the circumstances. I don't think that officer should have ever felt like his life was in danger.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to, Sean, legally speaking, is whether the officer would have a reasonable fear of their life being in or bodily safety being in imminent danger. And if they do, then that's where you get a legally justified shooting. But if they don't, and not to say they weren't scared, they could fear for their life, but that fear might not be reasonable to an average person.
That's
and when you
right.
have a situation where this guy
not
is
reasonable.
basically like face down towards the ground, his back is up, there is a gun involved, and you mentioned that it may have discharged, of course. We don't know that for sure. That's being investigated. And I guess my question is, how much does that even change, though? Because well-trained officers hear a gun discharge and just immediately unload 10 bullets on the person in front of them who isn't holding or touching a gun. That doesn't sound right to me, Sean. Not that
Right,
I'm,
so-
trained as an LEO.
Sure, because you're skipping a few steps. So first of all, prior to them removing the firearm from him, it was identified. They're all shouting gun, gun, gun. So everyone in that space knows that this suspect has a gun at that moment. Then they get the firearm away. We don't know if all of the officers know that that firearm has been removed. Then you hear the discharge of a weapon. So it's like, oh, everybody identified that this guy had a gun, whether they saw it or not. They understand that that's what's being called out to the other officers. Then you hear a discharge of a firearm and they react to that discharge. So it's not like a gunshot from across the street that had nothing to do with anything while they were first approaching this guy. This is mid altercation, mid resisting arrest that this happens, which is why, again, I consider this an unfortunate shooting, but not a criminal shooting.
Right. I don't know, if you make a massive mistake in your perception and somebody is disarmed and still shot because you misunderstand something, I mean, isn't that what manslaughter charges are?
Well, if somebody's disarmed when, though? Like, we're talking within a span of a couple of seconds. Like, he did have the gun on him. That's why the guns were drawn in response. You have all these people yelling out gun, gun, gun. So they think that he has the firearm. And then, again, we don't know right now if it's the case that this gun actually discharged. It looks like it from a video, but it's a slow down, grainy video. I'll give you that. But you have a discharge of a shot, then a slight delay, and then you have the shots coming in after the fact. And you're like, oh, well, he's not facing them at that moment in time. There are plenty of instances where somebody's turned away from you and they're firing. It's obviously...
Well, he's not touching the gun. The Wall Street Journal did the frame by frame, and they found at no point was he touching the gun.
He can't be touching the gun there if it's in a Border Patrol agent's possession. So
right. So why are they in reasonable fear?
Why did they ever draw their firearms? I don't think it was because he was reaching for a gun or saw.
It's because they identified a gun on his possession, which is why they were shouting gun, gun, gun. And
sure, but
again,
it can't be the rule that if you have a gun on you, the cops can draw their firearms and execute you. Especially when leading up to the circumstances. So. But there is leading up to the circumstances. There's no reason to think that this guy was a threat or that this guy was.
If you have a firearm, you can watch as many traffic stops as you want where somebody identifies that they have a legal gun in the car. There is a great chance that the officer will draw their gun just based on the notification that you have a gun. And that's not even in a situation where somebody's actively resisting arrest and there's a struggle. So, like, they didn't shoot him because he had a possession of a gun.
That is absolutely not true. I've seen so much cop slot videos. They do not just draw their firearm just because you identify that you have one in the car. Now, if you're reaching for a gun, or if officers believe you're reaching for a gun, or if you're scuffling and somebody identifies a firearm,
if they expect the chance of a deadly force threat, then they will. Then not all the time. Obviously, you can find videos where this doesn't happen, but they will very likely draw their firearms in that scenario because you want to have it at the ready.
I agree, but you just totally changed your argument. You said expect deadly force. Just merely identifying
No, I didn't say
expect
deadly force. I said expect them to have their guns out.
That's not what you did. Well, okay. If you want to say that, that's
he was
fine.
executed for having
you just said
firearm.
that they expect deadly force threat. A cop will not draw his weapon simply because you've identified that you have a firearm. This would be totally improper.
A firearm is a deadly force threat.
Yeah, but he's not if you're not brandish. I've been pulled over several times with a firearm in my car or concealed carry. Just because you identified to the officer you have a firearm doesn't mean that they're going to pull their gun out and aim it at you. They'll probably ask to be the ones to remove it. They'll probably ask to be the ones to handle the firearm, which is fine. But simply having a firearm does not necessitate them brandishing their weapons at you.
But you're cutting out the context. You're cutting out the context of this situation. He didn't just have a firearm on him when they first approached him. He had it mid-resisting arrest. That's when this information was revealed. And that's when the guns were drawn.
He didn't pull the firearm at all. The cop was fighting him on the ground.
That's when this information became known to the officers.
Sure, that's fine, but they shouldn't have been tackling him and pushing him onto the ground. There was no reason for...
He intervened in their other encounter with that lady.
But he did not assault.
It doesn't
Hang on, one second. Let's Sean, let's just be clear. Everyone's seen the video, and I understand when you see him. We see a woman pushed to the ground who he may or may not have been with, and then we see him kind of step in front of and put an arm up in almost like a de-escalation attempt, and then he does touch the officer, but you acknowledge he wasn't like assaulting the officer. That maybe it was a mistake.
I said he was intervening with whatever that encounter was.
And does that inherently constitute obstruction if you simply step into a situation?
Like he was literally putting his body in between them to obstruct them. Like if you go see somebody get arrested on the street, like go put your body between that person.
I mean, I agree that's a mistake to do. I agree that's a mistake to do.
Hold on, wait. To be clear, the lady was not being arrested. We have no evidence of that whatsoever. The cop is just shoving people over. It just seems like the cop is just attacking
It does look
people.
bad.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't
no,
know.
not just bad, but the
I
cop
don't
is just
think anyone
acting
ever said
with an unjustified use
that
of
that
force that
lady
makes no
was
sense
being
unless it's just like
arrested, right?
attacking
I
people.
never even
Like there's
heard
at no
that.
point
Like, I've
in
started
a arrest
hearing
you're just
people
shoving
start
people
to say
over
that
for what?
online.
Again,
Why?
that's
Just to
fine. If you
defend
see somebody,
the
if you see an officer
with
put somebody on the
nothing backing
ground
it up,
and it's not
nobody's
clear
ever,
whether they're
like,
arresting them or not,
confirmed that this person was being arrested at all.
then go put your body in between
It's
you
still
and
a
that
bad
person,
idea.
I think
and
so.
then
I
see
think
if that's going to be work out for you.
Sure. So you've conceded the whole argument because you keep morphing the words every time.
I'm
If
not
you see
morphing
an officer-
anything.
You are. If you see an officer put somebody on the ground, if the
Yeah, if
officer
you see
was
them-
like.
So
But
first
that's
of all,
not what
that
we're talking
woman,
about.
that
We're
woman
not
was in the
talking
middle
about
of
the officer
traffic.
going to the ground. We're not talking about any of that. He shoves the woman with his arm, right? Do you acknowledge that? He just shoves the woman aside with his arm.
Yeah, he shoves
right?
the woman that's in the way. Yeah,
Well, she wasn't in the way when he shoved her.
he
Right?
shoves the woman. Okay, go ahead.
So he shoves the woman with his arm. Doesn't look like there's an arrest. I don't know why you would do that. If you want to arrest him, you'd probably hold them still and arrest them, right? It seems like he just gets mad, just shoves the lady away. And then the guy, I don't even know if he puts his hand on her, but it looks like he steps in and then turns around to pick the woman up as the cop just starts pepper spraying the guy with the phone. Why? There's no
So he
reason.
gets in
And then-
between he gets in between the officer and the subject that he's engaged with, and
Which
it's
is not a
unknown
good
whether or not he
idea.
wanted to arrest
He's
that
not
person.
engaged. He's not engaged with the subject anymore. He just pushed her. He just shoved her away, and that was
He's
it.
moving towards her when this guy comes and cuts them in between. You don't know what's going to happen.
Sure, you don't, but I know that there's no reason for the cop to start pepper spraying the guy. The guy's locked in like a death QuickTime event. As soon as the cop starts to close the gap, and he pepper sprays the dude for no reason. We've got escalation there. Then they start
If
fighting.
you-
I don't even want to say fighting. The guy doesn't even fight back. He turns around. He's slipping on the ice, and then the cop gets his whole crew over to tackle the dude and execute him. For
Yeah,
no,
Sean,
for no
can I ask
reason.
you this? You don't think the ICE officer, regardless of whether you think the ultimate decision to pull the trigger is justified, you don't think these officers, like, seem well trained and handled the situation well, do you? Because it seems like amateur hour to me. It seems like they escalated. Seems like there was like 6 of them and they couldn't restrain one, probably soy-filled guy who is not exactly looks like he's a beast, difficult to control.
What'd you
It
say?
doesn't seem like ICE is exactly
Soy-filled.
sending their best to Minneapolis right now.
I mean,
Fucking
first of all, I
moron.
believe this was like
Soy boy.
CBD, Customs and Border Patrol, not
Yes,
ICE.
yeah.
but-
So DHS still, but yeah.
But again, like, what are you supposed to do in this scenario? Like draw me a picture of how to do it better if they can't get in control of this individual that's on the ground. And then during that process, which is seconds long, they end up finding out that he has a gun. Like, one of them got in there and removed the gun. I think that was really effective to get in there and remove the gun.
Why-
Unfortunately, that was
why
not
were they even
communicated to everyone.
dogpiling him?
There are
though?
So was
million-
that,
yeah,
was
wait,
that
wait.
part bad
There-
training, or was that
there
part
are-
good training?
The bad training was, one, is shoving a lady with your arm. There's just no reason to do that. So that was bad. Pepper spraying the guy for literally no reason. That was bad. Attacking or tackling this dude who's now totally discombobulated, who doesn't seem to be a threat at all. That was bad. Bringing all your boys over to tackle the dude. That was bad. Smacking the dude in the face over and over again with the bottom of the mace or whatever. That was bad. And then taking the gun off him, having a negligent discharge, and then executing the guy. All of these things were bad.
They
at no
pepper
point
sprayed
was
the
any
guy
of this stuff-
after he interceded in their action, which you're
That's
like,
not
well,
enough.
I don't know if it was going
Does
to be
that
an
justify
arrest.
a
That's
pepper
not
spray?
enough to pepper spray the guy.
What are you
because the guy
supposed
got
to?
him-
Like, so you're
Yeah,
like,
you
don't
use
shove
your
them.
words. You
Don't
could say,
pepper
hey,
spray.
you could say, wait. I just
They
wanted-
had
I just
already.
want-
There was already a previous
No.
engagement with him
No.
where they told him to
I
move
just wanna
back
be-
in the earlier video.
Sure, I just
So
want
they
to
had
hear you
already
clearly state
warned
that.
him. So what are you
I want
talking
you to
about?
clearly state that. So when a guy is standing in front of you with a phone, the only thing that you can do from that point
We're
on
not-
is
he's
to
not
start to
just
mace the
standing
guy.
in front of them. Like, I
Yes,
get,
he
like,
is.
in order for
But he-
your scenario to work, you have to not tell the
Guys,
truth. But he was interceding
either
in between him and the
evil or
woman that the
retarded
ICE
or
agent or the
both.
Border
He
Patrol
was
agent
standing in
was
front of the guy.
engaged
That
with.
was
What'd
it.
you
He
say?
wasn't punching him.
Right?
What'd you say?
He's either like evil, retarded, or both.
Yep.
He wasn't hitting him. He
Oh,
wasn't
he's
That's
just
the-
standing in
that's
front
the
of him.
way
And there
it
was no
rolls.
Exactly.
there was no context
If
around
we're-
it. He
if
did not
these
put
people
his
are to be
body in
believed.
between him and
But
the person
he's a-
that he was engaged with. No,
So you're telling me the only path
Little
from that
guy's
point
just
forward is he has to
kinda
stop pepper
stupid.
spraying the guy.
I'm saying that is a
He's
proper
fucking
use of
retarded.
pepper spray in that scenario. Like, what
I'm
do you
not
what do
sure
you want
it
him
is.
to do?
He's not
Yeah.
using
Wait, wait,
force
are
to
there-
threaten anybody. You could say you're
He's
under arrest
using
for
his body
resisting
to
for
impede what you're
obstruction.
doing.
Turn around, put your hands behind your back, and then if he attacks you or tries to run away, maybe then something could be justified. But simply
Yeah.
the fact that he didn't immediately like back down and turn around, does that
First of all,
really
this guy
justify
was
the pepper
already
spray?
pushed by agents prior to this in a previous video. Have you not
And he
seen
didn't
that video
attack or
from
do
the
anything
I have,
back. He
but
didn't strike or do
when he
anything
was
back, which goes
approaching
to
them
the-
before?
Which goes to the officer's state of mind that he shouldn't have thought the guy was a threat because he didn't attack or do anything there either.
He ignored a warning. Typically, when you're escalating your behavior as a person like that is, which again, he already approached the agents. They already pushed him away in the previous video, and then they get into it with this woman. She ends up getting shoved to the ground. He throws his body in between them, which you describe again very deceptively as just standing. He just happened to be standing there. Like, isn't that weird how he happened to end up right between the border patrol agent and the woman on the ground?
Nobody
and then
disagrees
they use the
that
pepper
he's
spray.
blocking. Yes, he's blocking the officer, sure, but the officer's not getting into the woman. He just rage shoves her away. That's all you see. And the guy moves over, he intercedes, and then he goes to pick the woman up, and then the officer starts pepper spraying. You don't think there's any other action the officer could have taken at that point?
I mean, he could have tackled him. There was plenty of things that you could do.
He couldn't have just said, "Sir, move aside." He could have said, "Sir, I'm going to arrest you now."
They already engaged with this guy before, and he still
They didn't
back
say
off.
they were detaining him. They didn't say they were arresting him, and he did back off. That's why there was no earlier engagement that ended in physical
No,
violence.
he didn't back off because he jumps in right here.
He doesn't
I
jump
wanna
in.
ask
He was already
Stephen a
warned in that
Lady
previous
being pushed.
instance. Are we
So
pretending
now he
that
gets
didn't
pepper
happen?
sprayed. Okay.
So, Stephen, I want to ask you a question because I've seen liberals and progressive commentators, and I
Don't want
understandably
me any of
upset.
them. I'm the Rittenhouse guy. Remember? Sorry.
I know you're a little different because you are actually a Second Amendment pro-gun rights guy, but and suddenly a lot of conservatives are like, if you have a gun, you're asking to be shot.
Yeah,
not you shot,
which
of
is
course.
crazy.
Not saying that about you,
It's
but we've definitely
fucking
seen a few people
crazy
get
that
roasted
that's
for
what they're
that.
saying,
But
yo.
I do wonder, we've seen people
I
like
just
Mayor Frey,
don't
I think, really make this situation worse, encourage people to engage in kind of disruptive protests that cross the line into illegality,
Garbage.
like taking over a church. I mean, I don't want to get into that whole debate, but for example, this idea that people are praising this man who was killed, which of course his life being lost is terrible, and I really do think important questions needs to be asked for putting himself in that situation. There almost seems to be at least a portion of the left that seems to be actively encouraging people to interfere with ICE operations. And even if you think those operations are wrong or immoral or illegal, that seems like only a recipe for putting more people in danger. Do you not agree that that's a bad idea to do?
So there are multiple parts to this question. So the first thing is, unless I've missed something, I don't know if I agree with the characterization that Frey or Walls has told people to do anything illegal. I feel like I hear them over and over again say, make sure that
Well,
you're
he called for
protesting
the
legally.
release of the activist who criminally obstructed the church ceremony.
Was that criminal? So
Yeah,
I watched.
it was
So
definitely.
I watched.
I think it was criminal. Yeah,
Well,
you
sure, I
can't
know
shut
you think
down
that.
someone's service. Shout
Sure,
it
so
down.
I watched this, and I really did. I watched about an hour of it. I couldn't see more. If anybody asked them to leave and they didn't, past that point, it's easily trespassing for sure, right? But I don't know. I feel like there was like a 30-minute inside thing, and then everybody left.
I mean,
I don't know if.
I don't want to,
I mean-
but it is a FACE Act violation when you go
Maybe.
and shout down a church service, and that's what it's being investigated for.
Sure. Okay. I mean, it could be investigated for that, sure. But I mean, I don't know if I heard any like the mayor or the governor say like go into churches and protest into churches. You could argue that. No, actually, I won't even steelman that. Like they've over and over again told people that if they're going to protest, to do it lawfully, to do it peacefully, to not be aggressing on people or to be doing things that could be criminal behavior. Like I've heard that statement said over and over and over again. Even if people are engaged in some level of criminal behavior when it comes to blocking ICE people or protesting where they shouldn't, the answer can't just be execute them. That's just absolutely absurd. And you can feel that that ICE is acting in an immoral way that is still within the borders of the law, and so there's some level of civil disobedience where you're like, well, I'm going to accept getting arrested in this case. I wouldn't necessarily recommend people do that because it's breaking the law, and who knows what their criminal penalties will be. But like the answer can't be execution.
All right,
it
you
just
keep
can't be
saying
that.
execution. That doesn't feel like a fair characterization to me. When you're saying it's not like they set out there looking to kill someone in cold blood, Stephen.
I mean,
it's
the
a
pretty
situation
thing,
gone wrong.
when it's going wrong, but the officers are like feeding into it every single level of the interaction. Like again, if you watch that video from start to finish, one, I don't know why the officers are shoving people around. It's kind
I
of
agree.
cringe.
No,
and then two,
personally, I
and then
agree.
like him pepper spraying the guy. Like all of this is just escalating until somebody dies, and then it's like, well, I don't know what happened. It's like, why? Like there's no reason for them to be behaving in such a manner. You're inducing an event where you're going to have to kill somebody.
I mean, what we're seeing by these left-wing agitators is not protesting. Like, if you had an issue with your local police department and you decided to quote-unquote protest them by following them around during the course of their operations, blowing whistles to make sure suspects that they were looking for escaped, obstructing them in the middle of traffic,
All of that is legal,
like
right?
we would call that criminal activity.
Hold
Like,
on.
you can't
It's
do that
following
to your,
somebody-
you
following
can't do
somebody
that to your
reporting them
local
and blowing a
police
whistle is
department.
legal.
You
Following
can't do
somebody
that to
in
your
re-
local police department. So the
That's
idea that
illegal?
this is like regular,
Wait,
ordinary
is following
protesting,
somebody in
it's
video recording them
agitating.
and blowing a whistle, is that legal or illegal?
It depends, actually. Like, you could call it like about disturbing the peace if you're making like obnoxious noise. Like, I live in New York City. If I play music too loud, the police will show up to my apartment.
If you want to arrest, yeah, that was a good pivot. So that's not illegal, right? If they want to arrest them for disturbing the peace or whatever, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, obstructing law enforcement
driving around-
operations is definitely illegal. Again,
But
if
you
the
acknowledge
police
that-
were raiding a building in order to arrest somebody and you were blowing a whistle so that person in said building would escape, which is what these people are effectively doing, that would obviously be illegal.
Well, my understanding is it's not illegal. This is why you have apps on your phone that will literally warn you when there's a speed trap ahead, that this stuff has been decided to be free speech in the United States.
We're not talking about the same thing. You're interfering with an active
It's
operation.
notifying people of law enforcement presence has been in some cases upheld to be a form of protected speech.
Yeah, that's
also.
Again, you're talking about something different, though. If you go during an operation, let's say they were doing a drug bust in your neighborhood, right? You're a libertarian, you're against the drug war. If you follow them on their way to a drug bust and made as much noise as possible in order to make sure that the people who had the drugs in the house that they were about to raid got away, do you think you would be arrested? Or do you
Yes,
think they'd be
I
like,
do.
oh,
I think
First
that
Amendment
probably get a-
activity,
I
no
do
big
think
deal.
I would get
In
arrested.
that case,
yes.
in that case you could be. But for the ICE stuff here, it doesn't seem like these are the types of targeted operations they're claiming. The names that they've been releasing, Minnesota has come out and said they don't even have some of these people in custody, or these people don't exist, or the records are like 20 years old. So it seems like we can't even trust that ICE is on any kind of targeted operation. For Renee Good, apparently they're just going door to door knocking. It wasn't a targeted raid or targeted
That's
bust.
not- but
And I
that-
believe for Alex Pretty, I think that he was just in front of like they were in front of some federal office or whatever. So that wasn't a targeted raid or
That's
bust
not,
either.
First of all, that's not information that these people who are following them around know. They're not like, oh, well, I'm against ICE enforcement because they have technically outdated information. They're actively trying to disrupt them when they know that they're finding a person. So they have the
You just
intent
said they
to
don't know it,
disrupt
now you're saying they do
a
know
law
it.
enforcement
No, it's not
operation.
illegal. You're simply wrong on the law there.
Sean,
Just by blowing the whistle by cops moving around in a neighborhood or ICE moving around in a neighborhood, that doesn't count as obstruction. It's been ruled on. This is not obstruction. It's not.
Sean, you do acknowledge that they do have a First Amendment right to record the officers, right?
Yeah, you have a right to record, of course.
So when people are following, and that's what this guy seemed to have originally be doing, is trying to serve as an observer and record ICE. And frankly, I have no issue with that. And I think that people, while they shouldn't get involved in the situations, which I think he did choose to do, and I do think was a mistake, even if it didn't justify his death, I do think people have a right. And I am kind of disturbed.
He has every,
I'm gonna
he-
do.
again, like, I have nothing against this guy personally. I wish he was not shot in this particular situation. It is a tragedy. You have every right to record law enforcement during their operations, but obviously when you're blocking people in, which is what Renee Good was doing, when you're doing
Renee
the
wasn't
whistles to
blocking
make sure
anybody in,
people
though, right?
get
Wait,
away,
that was just a
the
lie.
whole
Wait,
entire
who was Renee
purpose of
blocking
that
in?
is to...
Who was
the
Renee
whole-
blocking in?
She was blocking the road.
You just said when they're blocking people in. That's not
She was
blocking,
blocking the road.
Okay, so you've changed your words. That's fine.
All
She
right,
was blocking
well,
the
I
road.
do-
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't misspeak for like 1 second. She was blocking the
You're not
road, or
misspeaking.
as
Blocking
many
in
people would
implies
say,
that you're
not
repeating
blocking
a lie that
anything,
Christy
just
Nome
parking
said.
perpendicular in the road as you
You're
would
repeating the
normally
lie
do.
that Christy Nome said, where Christy Nome said that she was blocking people in or ramming them with a car. That was the lie that Christy Nome
Well,
said.
she
I guess you
rammed
believe,
the
but she
officer
wasn't
with the
doing
car.
that.
I mean, that's on video. So.
No, the officer jumped in front of the car and he shouldn't have been there. He should
No,
know
no,
better.
she
right?
squared
Part
up
of the
to face
training.
him. Again, that's
No,
on the video. Like when she
Really?
was
Wait,
reversing,
then why is it that
she
after
aligned
she
the car
died-
with him.
She aligned to go right, which is exactly the path the car took.
No,
Why
she
is the
went
officer in front of a
straight.
moving vehicle? Why would
She
the
went
officer? She
straight
didn't go
and
straight.
then was turning. And again, here's what we're doing right now. We're
We've
basing
seen the
this.
video. What?
We're basing this on, oh, well, and when I slowed down the video and I looked at it with hindsight in 2020, which is the exact opposite of the legal standard, I determined based on the trajectory of the wheels that she was churned enough,
No.
whatever that means, to make that an unjustified shooting. No,
The
that's
legal
ridiculous.
standard.
Sean,
the
I
legal-
don't
no,
like
wait, wait,
that
wait,
that's
wait,
all
wait, no,
She
wait.
makes
Just to be
contact
clear.
with him. The idea that he has to count because she was all the way reversed, remember? There's 3 turns in a steering wheel. He has to count whether she made 1 full revolution, which would be straight, or
That's
one
a
and a half, which
filibuster.
would be
It's a
all the way for the
filibuster, 'cause he knows
turn.
it's
And
unlimited
then
time.
he makes
It's
that
just a filibuster.
determination in a split 2nd, and that's a fair standard, is absurd.
Yeah, good
All right,
filibuster.
Sean,
So
let
let's tell the
Destiny-
truth.
let Destiny
In
give
order
us
to
thought
make your
on that.
argument, so
But
continue.
the truth, wait. So the truth is that it's a totality of the circumstances. The officer's been interacting with her for over a minute beforehand. It doesn't seem like she was a murderer. This is like a large, like lesbian white wine mom woman. He's arguing with her and her partner. There's no reason for that officer to have in his mind the idea that she's about to try to murder cops. And
I mean,
given
except for her accelerating at him. And again, you're trying to do this thing where you make it based on her intent, which is not what's argued. It's not the standard. It's whether or not a reasonable officer in that same position would fear death or serious bodily injury with the car accelerating towards him.
Filibustering. It's considering a totality of the circumstances.
No,
the woman
that's
had
not,
shown
the standard is whether a reasonable officer in that scenario would fear death or serious bodily injury. Again, not without the benefit of hindsight, with the information known to him at the time.
Hindsight. Why do you say hindsight? It's a totality.
Because you're talking
of
about the wheels being turned,
I'm not talking about the wheels being turned. I've said this multiple times. It was her interaction before with the cop. There was nothing violent said. There was nothing crazy going on. She didn't seem to be demonstrating any lethal or violent intent. And no reasonable person up to that point who ends up walking in front of the car would think like, oh God, she's about to murder me. If you look at the totality,
she's about to hit him with the car as she is running at him with the car.
As he walks in front of her car that's moving in the street.
Squared up to face him when
she backed up to reverse.
I gotta retake the floor here for a second.
She turned her wheels and aligned better with him.
Totality of the circumstances. She wasn't violent or anything prior to this.
Hang on. So I didn't necessarily want to go and debate the whole Renee Good shooting as well, but it is important and it does matter. Sean, obviously you're right that if someone tries to run you over with a car, that is what would justify it. But the question is whether that's what actually happened. And I don't think it's clear. There are multiple different video angles that he was struck. One video appears to show that he was, but others appear to show otherwise. It's all very complicated. And also, again, without wanting to relitigate this all, he did continue to shoot through the side window at her once she was very clearly not going to hit him.
In 0.7 seconds.
But each instance of the use of lethal force has to be justified. And
that's
I don't know
considered one instance. That's totally wrong.
Each pulling of the trigger has to be legally justified. This is not just
totally
you can start spraying when your original shot is valid.
7 seconds. The court has recognized.
So it's less justified, after the person is deceased for the subsequent ones, but he's wrong. You do have to justify each pulling of the trigger in legal cases. At least that's what I've seen in analyses.
Multiple times that human beings are human beings, and the idea that he's supposed to have this like hyper perception in 0.7 seconds, which is the difference between shot 1 and shot 3, and know that shot 1 was effective enough or shot 2 was effective enough or 3 is absurd. Like, again,
I do think they are responsible for every shot that they take with their service weapon, and I don't think these people are.
It'll be all three of these shots will be seen the exact same way, just because of the length of time between each shot. In extended situations, it might be different, but again, when you're considering whether the shoot is legal and good or not, you're considering a totality of the circumstances, which are the circumstances that lead up to the shoot. It's not just the moment that the car starts moving towards the guy. It's everything leading up to that. They didn't have any violent encounters. The woman didn't display any violent intent. The guy is walking in front of her car and whatever multiple times, so clearly he didn't feel like this was a threat or this was a thing she could do.
When he was filming her, she wasn't an issue, but when they tried to get her out of the car and she decided to take off, that's when it became an issue.
Why was he filming her?
See what you just said there? When she decided to take off, not ram him with her car, but when she was
because her intent doesn't matter, and I don't have to lie in order to make my point.
Her intent doesn't matter.
Like, I don't have to read her mind to understand that a car that's 2 tons is a serious threat of bodily injury or death.
But why was he standing in front of the car right after he backed up?
You mean after she squared up to face him?
Why was he standing after she backed up? After she backed up, why would he stand in front of the car?
Well, she was backing up then, and then she's turned to drive and then started accelerating.
And he could have just continued to move. He stopped. He would have been out of the way of her car. What was he planning on?
Oh, in hindsight, with 2020, like, you could make that argument, but that's not the legal standard.
It's so crazy. I've never needed a hindsight. It is the legal standard also, not hindsight 2020, but the totality of the circumstances. The totality of the circumstances is the legal standard, and the totality of circumstances doesn't make her seem like she's a deadly threat. It's not just at the moment that she starts moving forward. It's not.
Well, again, it's not just a deadly threat. It's a threat of death or serious bodily injury that a reasonable officer with the same information would act in that situation or perceive a deadly or serious bodily injury threat.
Why did none of the other officers perceive it?
The ones that weren't in serious danger, the ones that were
like a foot away from him. Yeah, the ones that were like a foot away from the guy. Why did neither of them seem to perceive this deadly threat, this threat of serious bodily harm?
The ones that weren't in front of the car.
The ones that were a foot away from the guy.
That weren't in front of the car.
Well, they could still act to defend their colleague.
Their officer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and they didn't.
They weren't in front of the car. Like, that's why.
So, guys, I want to move us along. I do want to move us along.
How quickly and easily that would have been.
I'm not sure we're going to get to the bottom of it, but ultimately it will continue to be investigated. Maybe there may be a point of agreement on the next question related to this, actually, which is the interesting performance of DHS Secretary Kristi Noem in the aftermath of this shooting. I want to play you a clip of her at a press conference immediately after the shooting of Alex Priddy. Listen to this.
Individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
So here's what I would say is that, listen, maybe you think this was a defensive shoot. Maybe you think it's justified. I don't, but okay, we could have that discussion. For the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security to get in front of the cameras after an American citizen was just killed by one of her officers, and immediately, based on the fact that he has a gun and ammunition, which millions of people carry every day, suggest that he must have been in some plot. They did also call him a domestic terrorist, again, baselessly, to kill law enforcement, like to go and shoot up and do a mass shooting targeting law enforcement, is totally baseless and irresponsible. Sean, I respect that you have a more conservative viewpoint on some of these issues, but you are not like a Team Red automaton who will just defend anything like some people. Surely you agree that that is unacceptable from the secretary.
Right. So there's two issues with what I had that she said there.
How much?
First of all,
how's it going?
Good. Just playing Oxygen Not Included, watching a debate between Destiny and actual Justice Warrior, once again about the Alex Priddy thing. How you doing? What you up to?
Oh, not much. Just taking a break, I guess.
Yeah? What you working? Are you still working on the big thing?
Oh yeah, I've made a lot of progress on it too.
I'm happy to hear that, man. That's fucking awesome.
Actually, a lot faster than I expected. Yeah. So I'm in the middle of the second step out of 3 to reach the first explicit formula.
Mm-hmm.
And this explicit formula is the one for all natural number values of the Riemann zeta function. So the idea there is that if you just put in a natural number, then out will pop its exact form. And so there's already some form. There's ones for the even number values, you know. There's ones for the odd number values, 3 and greater, right? But there's 2 of them. It's like partitioned between 2 different formulas. So the trick here then is to get them all under one formula, one general formula. And so it requires some manipulations to do. But right now the trickiest part, since when n equals 1, the zeta function reduces to the harmonic series, and the harmonic series diverges. I don't think it has any kind of summation rule that'll assign a value to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, you have like whatever general formula that you have that would reduce to these other subformulas that are known. It has to also reduce when n equals 1 to the harmonic series.
Okay. And so how are you...
So that's the hardest part.
And that's kind of what that's the portion how long is your, like, this function right now?
You mean the explicit, you mean what will the explicit formula be? Like,
Yeah,
like
how long
how
is
big
it
it is?
working right now, yeah.
Oh, it's huge. I don't think, well, the one I have right now that brings together the 2 formulas that partition out the odd number of values, so it's one single odd number value formula, is gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting the even number formula on doing further manipulations to get the even number formula with it, as well as so that when n equals 1, it will diverge, not just the way that the harmonic series diverges, but also get like that it will literally be the harmonic series that it reduces to. I expect it to be really large, like probably the largest formula I've ever seen. But that's like the first explicit formula that you need, because then after that, you have to get the one for the integer, all integer values. And then after that, all the rational number values.
Oh boy.
And then after that, computable, you have to restrict yourself at this point. Computable real number values. There are such a thing as non-computable real numbers. I'm not going to be interested in that. I'm just going to ignore those. Obviously, because you're not going to be able to get a formula, I don't think, for all of those. So the idea is just to settle for the computable ones.
All right.
I think that'll be enough. I think that'll be sufficient for my purposes.
Yeah.
So, and then that'll be half the task. And the other task is, because that covers the real axis on the complex plane. The next task is to cover the imaginary axis.
Ones, if you do the computable ones and then put that into an AI, it could probably generate the non-computable formula for you, right?
I don't know. It might be able to get some non-computable formulas.
All right.
But like,
interesting tool to test out.
Sure.
See what it does.
I've already seen some books that some people have been putting together that are prompted by. They're like these AI prompts, and they're like, "Hey, write a book about how the Riemann zeta function relates to machine learning or market analysis or something like that." But they kind of talk about like how to use a complex valued neural network to predict the non-trivial zeros of the Riemann zeta function. I'm like, well, of course, what they have in mind with the non-trivial zeros are the approximations of it, numerical approximations.
Right.
And the point of all these, like building up of these explicit formulas, is to aid in getting the exact forms, exact forms of the non-trivial zeros, because we don't have any exact forms of any non-trivial zeros. I mean, we know that the exact forms will ultimately equal 0, obviously, because, right? But the idea is that there's infinitely many ways to express 0 in a formula.
Yeah, of course.
Right. And the idea there is that's what we need, is the exact form according to some sort of explicit or a set of explicit formulas. Well, you need the explicit formulas to even begin getting an idea of what they might look like. The idea of the exact form is that, unlike the numerical approximation, which is just an arbitrary string of numerals, you can't really see anything. It's just noise. You can't really see any pattern there. But with an exact form, it's going to be finite, and it's going to involve important, like, irrational numbers. You might be able to see a pattern with that.
Yeah. Interesting. How long are you thinking until I'll be able to get a gander at her?
I mean, it'll depend. I've been making progress in fits and starts, so who knows? Maybe by tomorrow or the next day, I'll have a way forwards. We'll see. To get the first explicit formula.
Right.
And then just kind of do the same. Like, a lot of these things, when I'm breaking down the steps to get the explicit formula, some of these things just sound insurmountable at first. They're like, no way am I going to get this. Like, there's just no way.
Right.
And then, some time passes, and then I try something else, and then suddenly I see a way forwards, and then it starts to melt from there. So I know then the next big step, it'll look like I'll have the same experience again. Like, no way I'm going to get this. Like the integer valued one, right? Let's just say going forward, like, yeah, I'll have the same experience there too, like I had with the natural number one. I thought I was going to have to do all this like preliminary work, like maybe I'm not ready or whatever. Nope. Things just started happening. So I'm like, great.
Well,
so yeah.
I'm hoping it'll be successful and soon. And then you got to think about, getting it out there, not just to academic sources, but I think, if you could effectively put it into ways that are interesting, like for the layperson.
That's easy. Oh, that's easy. I could do that right now, actually.
You could make some
basically
interesting YouTube videos.
No, I don't want to do like the YouTube. I already saw somebody do that earlier this year, but he was using AI to generate his YouTube. I'm pretty sure you couldn't pay a man or woman to sit there and talk about somebody's paper enough to. I mean, they were doing a really bad job, and I know they were mispronouncing. They were mispronouncing Riemann as Ryman, and then, well, I mean, yeah, and the chat was off, so nobody can interact and like correct them. So then I got the suspicion, these must be AI.
Yeah.
There's no way.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that.
Yeah, so I have a strategy actually to get engagement from academics with this, though.
Okay.
So so there have already, like Alexander Ivich, he's a well-known expert on the Riemann hypothesis, and he has wrote an article in 2003 about ongoing doubts, like serious doubts about the positive resolution for the Riemann hypothesis. Mm-hmm. He's like, before you get too enthusiastic and think that the positive resolution just has overwhelming evidence, like it's just going to be the case, he's like, think again. There are, in fact, good reasons to be wary about the Riemann hypothesis still. Mm-hmm. That a negative or independence resolution could be possible. And he gives, in his paper, he gives 4 such reasons. Okay, this is perfect. So because the idea is that many proposals for the positive resolution for the Riemann hypothesis ignore the literature. They ignore what academics are saying, and I think that's a big mistake. Like they're only interested in what academics say if it supports their proposal. Okay? But they ignore what academics have to say if it contradicts their proposal. So the idea to get attention, I think, from academics is to seek out those who disagree with your view, with what you're going to do, and show that they're incorrect, refute them.
That should be the essence of actual proper peer review, no? That's what it's supposed to be.
So the idea is this, look, if I can resolve this problem, anybody with sound mind is going to insist that you should also be able to refute the doubts about it. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm going to do as well. I'm not just going to, do the positive resolution for this. We'll also refute all the doubts about it.
Well,
it's not unreasonable. It's definitely, I would say, required. And so that should definitely turn heads.
Well, best of luck, as always. I'm excited to see it, when you're all done. When you're ready to show it off. Very cool. I'm excited to know that I got to be part of it as you went through all of this. It's pretty cool.
Also, Peter Sarnik can rest calmly or peacefully at night, knowing that he didn't take a wrong turn in his career. Peter Sarnik is also an expert on the Riemann hypothesis, but particularly on one of the generalizations of the Riemann hypothesis, specifically the one for all Dirichlet L series. Now, he has done great work. I think that I haven't got into any of it. I'd like to. One of the reasons is I want to show how the way in which I'm resolving this of course it should be, right? If it is such a resolution, can be used to other instances of the Dirichlet-L series, right, and getting resolutions to their Riemann hypothesis type formulas. So whatever I'm doing here, it should be applicable elsewhere, right, with regards to the generalizations. And I want to also indicate or show how that might work too. Okay. So this is not just an isolated incident, and yeah, so it's definitely something that should be, it shouldn't run into the kinds of barriers to resolution that he listed off in his Heilbronn lecture in I think it was 2018. But yeah, it's gonna be. He's not gonna be very disappointed.
Good. Well, that's always good to hear.
Yeah, he's not gonna be. Yeah, that was his words. That somebody asked him in that lecture, "What if somebody resolved the Riemann hypothesis without making use of any, without making use of the other zeta functions or L functions and their properties out there, without making use of some of the cusp form research that he's done, or that don't make use of Eisenstein series and things like that." He's like, yeah, so like if someone just does it with just complex analysis and basic and just properties of the Riemann zeta function alone, he said he would be very disappointed.
Well, there you go. Look at you. Saving
So he doesn't have to be so
egos
disappointed.
of Mathematicians.
I wouldn't say it's ego. I mean, he has good reason to say what he's saying.
No,
like,
I'm just
yeah.
teasing. I'm just teasing.
when he's, it did sound very kind of pompous when he said, "Of course," right? But that's his style, right?
Yeah,
but he's like, what he means by when he's very disappointed, it's that, well, this only works for the Riemann zeta function, but that doesn't help the rest of us who are working on the generalizations. You know, well, great. I'm glad you got the $1 million, or glad that you got the prize. But the rest of us, you know, we're just, you know, still stuck.
Right.
So it's very disappointing.
Yeah. I'm just having a little bit of a laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm really looking forward to this. I was thinking, like, hey, you know, like a year ago, I was thinking, hey, I should go to grad school with this idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, there's no way. And then I realized, like, wait a second, there's no way this is actually going to work for grad school. Like, there's, like, who would supervise this? This isn't something that anyone would want to supervise.
Right. Well, there's always
it's
going
a
to be
dissertation from hell. Yeah, it's a dissertation from hell. God.
There'll always
Wait, he's
be
doing what?
someone. You know? There will always be someone. I'd say you could make it happen.
I would need 3 letters of recommendation.
Well, once you get it done, you know, get it out there. And then you probably...
No. Okay. Assuming, let's just say I did get it done, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying
you're
I'm...
going to have no problem. You'll probably get honorary degrees at that point.
They'll just give me one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll just give me an honorary PhD or something.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll be like, wait, he doesn't have a PhD? Just give him one. Come on. Just give him one.
Yeah, for that, I would think so.
Yeah, because it has to mean something. Like, if they didn't give me a PhD and I did that, something like that, I mean, what would a PhD mean then for a math? They would have to. Yeah. Because, I mean, PhD in math, I know the math community goes out of its way to make sure that signifies skill, it signifies achievement. Like, you don't go unnoticed, you know, getting a PhD in math.
Yeah, I think...
it's not supposed to be a club.
But be ready, you know, obviously... The peer review world is not the nicest, so...
Oh, for the sciences, that's right, I think, actually. But for, like, math, I think peer review is working all right in math. Let's see, what was I?
Oops, hang on.
Review is appropriate for math, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think peer review is appropriate for math, but it's just that I think I don't think I'll have an issue there. But I hear what you're saying for like in the sciences, there's like a peer review crisis I've heard going on there. And when I read about some of the details of that, I'm like, oh yeah, I could see for the sciences how that would be a problem.
Yeah,
you know, for
I do
centuries.
agree. I think a lot of people have talked about how there's been a bit of a peer review crisis.
For centuries, modern science had been guided by their own kind of pragmatism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what they publish their work and their findings, and whatever is most useful for theories or rival theories is what gets more interaction or gets more citation. It gets more use, and the idea is eventually, if there was some fraud done, then it would get eventually found out. Because I mean, it would be a matter of time at that point that it's found out.
One hopes.
Or that if it sounded kind of suspicious or spurious, and then it didn't get much citation, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Or it didn't get much use, well, there you go. But like the stuff that makes the rounds in science is like, you know, for centuries it had been like whatever was useful got the rounds, whatever actually worked got the rounds. And I was like, but then like they weren't using peer review, and then, you know, when it gets officially instituted in the 20th century, I'm like, well, they did need a safety net before. What do they need a safety net now? I just kind of think pragmatism should still just be rule of the day in science.
Well,
as it has always been.
I think anybody who's honestly scientifically minded would agree, but, you know, politics get involved.
Oh yeah, are you talking about like the grant application stuff,
Well,
like National Science Foundation
stuff? Then, you know, there are people who get attached to their own points of view and prefer certain outcomes, and so, you know, they may not take their approach to peer review seriously because of their own, again, like I said, preferred outcomes. There's all kinds of ways politics get involved. Sometimes people feel like maybe their tenure might rely on their own interpretation of something. You never know. There's so many different things, you know?
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot harder to get away with that in math, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I would
Math is
think.
probably one of the harder ones to get away with it because of how hard of a quote-unquote science it is.
Oh my god, yeah. Like, tell me about it. Math is freaking hard.
Well, no, not difficulty. I mean, like hard sciences versus soft sciences.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, yes, math is very difficult, but you know, when it comes to math, it either works or it doesn't work, right?
Right.
And
exactly.
That does sort of make it harder for opinions to influence too much of things, at least to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you finish it up, you know, I'd love for you to, or at least, you know, make the sort of progress you're ready to want to show off to people. I'd love for you to come on to here and talk about it to those in my audience who are mathematically minded. I think they'd find it very interesting.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, that'd be real cool. Anyway, I'm gonna get
Is
back
this
to
for tonight's stream? Is this
that?
for tonight's stream? Like, are you starting early?
I actually do 2 streams now on my streaming days. I do a noon stream where I mostly play games, maybe do a little bit of politics, and then my night stream is like the really politics-focused one.
This is the former, right?
Yes. So this is more like my gaming, less serious stream.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be right back. I'll be back probably later for the more serious one.
You're more than welcome to. I'm gonna keep going with this debate that I'm watching here while I play. But thanks for dropping by, and yeah, we'll see you later on tonight, bud.
All right. See you then.
Bye.
Actually, 3. 1, we really in this country need. I'm not going to comment on an ongoing investigation to like come back into play because, like she says, he approached with a firearm, which is like a not technically a lie, but is effectively like the biggest lie that you could tell because he didn't have the firearm out, he didn't present it. Like it does not. It communicates the wrong information despite technically being true. And then she goes on to imply that he's a mass shooter, or he was a potential mass shooter, or he was targeting law enforcement. Like to kill law enforcement, maybe not in a mass shooting kind of way, when that's not supported by the evidence. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. If I was planning to do something that terrible as Kristi Noem described, I probably wouldn't wait for me to be on the ground surrounded by 7 law enforcement agencies or agents and then for them to find the gun for me to execute my plot. So yeah, this was absurd. Kristi Noem is an embarrassment. And again, you should not go off like half-cocked with bad information and like deliver messages like this. Because even the part that she said that's technically true in the beginning, like, is a lie because of what she's implying by it.
Yeah, Stephen, when you see Stephen Miller, who shares your name, of course, come out and immediately brand this guy an assassin who tried to kill law enforcement, I mean, I do believe that Trump has the right to enforce federal immigration law, and he was elected on a mass deportation agenda, but I think we at bare minimum deserve some degree of honesty and not this just blatant, brazen lying.
I mean, they've done this with almost every big shooting incident that happened. They did it with the Charlie Kirk shooting as well, where Nancy Mace and other people have literally just come out and started ascribing a whole bunch of stuff to this guy before we even knew who the shooter was. We've seen Kash Patel make crazy statements. We've seen Kristi Noem and Trump make crazy statements. Like, they just want to get ahead of the story so that they can kind of like spin whatever narrative or story they can before any of the actual facts come out, or until the next insane thing has happened in 2 other days and then we've all moved on from it. So yeah, I mean, it totally undermines credibility from all of our agencies. Like, you can no longer trust almost anything that they put out because you've seen that they're willing to just, like, if the head of the agency is willing to come forth and lie, like, blatantly about videos we've all seen, I don't know, am I supposed to trust anything else they put out? I'm not sure.
No, it's a serious problem. I mean, these people are also responsible for national emergencies, for, you know, if there is, God forbid, an attack on the United States, DHS is going to be putting out updates, and I just don't know how we're supposed to take this essentially, and I will say this, Ice Barbie seriously, right? She dresses up in costumes to go on TV, of uniforms that she's not actually needing to be wearing. She wears them as props on a television set, then goes back to her condo, and I just think she's totally embarrassed the administration, and they can do better, even if you don't agree with their agenda. I mean, surely there's a better advocate for it than this, but they appear to be standing by her. Here is Caroline Levitt.
First question, the answer is yes. He still has confidence and trust in Secretary Noem.
How is that possible, that you could see everything that's going on and still have confidence and trust in Kristi Noem, Sean?
Well, I mean, listen, Trump is also like a backstabber guy who likes to flatter you before he fires you, so that could be the kiss of death for all we know. But yeah, look, you shouldn't have confidence in, like, listen, I've heard the argument for why the right or the government is throwing out these narratives initially, and they say, oh, it's because the left will make their own narrative, a la Michael Brown or whatever, you know, past instance that justifies it. It's just, I don't buy it at all. Like, you should not do this, especially if you're the government. Like, let people on the internet that are analyzing the videos, like the Zapruder film, like, make their cockamamie theories or whatever, but like, there's a level of like prestige when you're in the government that you shouldn't do this. So I like, people say, how do they have confidence? It's just doubling down on your side. Like, our administration does nothing wrong. We have confidence in them. But like, as we've seen many times, you could have confidence in somebody up until the moment they're fired.
Yeah. Do you think that's where we're heading, Destiny? Is she going to be the first major firing from the cabinet?
Probably not. I feel like he stood by her through so much other extreme stuff. As long as she can continue to tank everything, it feels like they have their fall guy for this now that Bovino or whatever is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, she'll probably still be here, and then we'll
yeah,
see.
you mentioned Greg Bovino, and of course he's the chief of Border Patrol. He is apparently being reassigned and no longer going to be in charge of the Minnesota operation. So that does suggest maybe a pivot. But I want to play you this clip of him because I find this extremely bizarre that even now, days after this incident, we still have no idea who the officer involved was. But that is, of course, in part because of the new DHS policy of masking officers and keeping them anonymous. Bovino was asked about that. Listen to this.
Commander Bovino, when it comes to the shooting, from what I understand, there were 2 agents who fired shots. We know one of the agents had 8 years experience, and we know he was a less lethal instructor and had this training. What did the other agent, what was his history, and are they both working right now, or are they on administrative leave?
All agents that were involved in that scene are working, not in Minneapolis, but in other locations. That's for their safety. There's this thing called doxing, and the safety of our employees is very important to us. So we're going to keep those employees safe. As far as the number of shots, the number of agents involved, that again is going to come out in the investigation.
So it's bizarre to me that these agents are still working. I mean, even if it was a legally justified shooting, they just took someone's life and were involved in a traumatic incident. Even if they're not guilty of anything, they should still probably be on administrative leave while it's investigated. And then I have to say, I understand that they face a lot of threats and intimidation right now, but to me, the masks have to come off, right? We cannot have anonymous people roaming the streets and apprehending people and using lethal force against citizens, and we don't even know who they are. Sure, they face threats, and that should be prosecuted by the FBI, to the fullest extent of the law, anybody who tries to harass or threaten their family or anything like that. But we ask judges, we ask politicians, we ask everyday law enforcement, all to be identifiable by badge number, by public name. And it's part of the job, unfortunately, as it may be. I mean, even as public figures, we get stalkers, we get people sending things to our address, we get doxxed. And yet, for some reason, they seem to think it's okay to have ICE officers and other DHS officials just running around masked and anonymous. Sean, do you support that, or do you agree that that's a problem?
Look, I understand why they have the masks. Obviously, ICE agents and their family members have been targeted in the past by these left-wing activists, but I genuinely agree with you. Like, American civilian law enforcement, you're supposed to know who they are when they're operating out in the field. And, like, yeah, we should prosecute the people that are exposing their friends and family and targeting them in all those kind of ways that they were doing in the first Trump administration. But that doesn't mean that they should be anonymous enforcers. Again, like, it's very rare circumstances where your law enforcement does this, usually where they're going up against gang members or they're undercover, but then they're also participating in a raid that you don't see their faces. And, like, every single operation related to immigration is the opposite of very rare circumstances. As far as the paid administrative leave thing, I mean, that's why we have paid administrative leave. Like, even if this is the cleanest shooting, which, you know, it is a messy shooting, but even if it's the cleanest shooting that you absolutely could have, like, firing your weapon at a human being and taking their life is something that you need some time off for. Usually you're supposed to see a psychologist or something of the sort. So again, I agree that they should be there. I mean, it's better that they're moved out of Minneapolis than in Minneapolis, but, like, we have paid administrative leave for a reason, and we gave a ton of money to Border Patrol and ICE in the big, beautiful bill so that we should have enough people that these guys could take some time off.
Stephen, do you think they might behave a little differently if their faces were on camera? I do wonder, that's just natural human psychology, that they might be quicker to shove a woman indefensibly or to escalate situations when they're hiding behind these bandanas that are not even official masks. So what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, probably, yeah. You mask people up and they can act crazy sometimes, yeah. I mean, we should know who they are. I think everything's been said on this. I agree. It's just... The administration is just acting in the most divisive and aggressive way possible. Like, if Trump cared at all, and Republicans don't care about illegal immigration because it's a faux issue to them. They just throw it up whenever they want to, like, make voters mad about a thing. But you can tell with the way that they approach it that they don't actually care about it as an issue, and that the voters don't seem to care much about it as an issue aside from things to vote on. Because, like, imagine trying to explain to a European friend So ICE is mass deployed right now doing immigration enforcement, and they're like, oh, that must be where, like in Texas or California, or no, up in Minnesota. Why? Like the per capita numbers don't make sense. The absolute numbers don't make sense. It's because a cognitively impaired Republican kid, made a stupid video where 90% of the information was fake, and they decided to just go mass deployment of ICE to the state for
the windows.
Oh my goodness.
I guess.
for just no reason.
Sean, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I mean, you can look by the numbers. The per capita rates of people removed from Texas and Florida are significantly higher than in blue states, and the reason for this is because you have state and local coordination. Like Destiny talks about how, the Republicans don't care about illegal immigration or any of this. In reality, the Democrats are actively benefiting off of this conflict. That's why they don't work with the feds. That's why they encourage people to go out there. That's why they tell their voters consistently that they're not legitimate law enforcement. That's why you'll see on social media all these people saying, oh, well, ICE can't arrest you because they're not a general law enforcement agency, even though they absolutely can arrest you for obstructing their operations, just like any law enforcement agency could do so, because they want these conflicts to fester. I mean, Tim Walz after this compared, I guess, I don't know who he's comparing to, but Minnesotans to Anne Frank, which again implies that ICE is the Nazis. And spoiler alert, if you were in the times of Anne Frank and you had to deal with Nazi soldiers, you would be justified to kill those soldiers. So this is what is being stoked up by these comparisons because they want this conflict. Like, they benefit from it politically, and it's the biggest distraction for somebody like Tim Walz, who doesn't have to deal with the consequences of Nick Shirley's video, which of course Stephen had to mischaracterize.
Well, let's not litigate that. Let's not litigate that. That could be another episode.
I want to say, just to anybody listening out there, who's ever heard me say crazy things about Republicans in the past, this is why I don't think that it's worth it for Walz to take like the ultra kind position and to say, oh, there should be no violence and protest, because people like Sean and all the other Republicans will constantly mischaracterize every single thing they say. Both the mayor and the governor of Minneapolis and of Minnesota, respectively, have been unequivocally telling people, do not do illegal things, do not obstruct, don't riot, don't break stuff, like be peaceful, record people, maintain a distance. Like, they've been unequivocal in their messaging there, and yet you still have people
do not
like
do
Sean
illegal things, but they're kind of like the Nazis. I don't know if you guys know that.
You do agree that the Nazi rhetoric
like, the problem is you've lost all your moral high ground when you're taking videos and selling merchandise in front of Alligator Alcatraz. You can't conduct yourself in that manner and then go, man, I wonder why Americans are so opposed to our form of deportations. If Donald Trump wanted to, Donald Trump could have said, here's what we're doing. We're going to every single prison in the state, and if you've done a violent misdemeanor or any felony, we're deporting you. He could have made that announcement, and every blue governor, blue mayor, everybody would look like such a loser trying to oppose Trump on that initiative. Because how are you going to protect literal rapists and criminals and everything in your states and cities? But instead, they do the most divisive, most aggressive, most disgusting AI image, AI video, Alligator Alcatraz, selling merchandise, laughing about it, joking about it. I mean, like, what do you expect? Of course, this is what's going to happen.
Well, worse than that,
this is legal
Stephen,
101.
they sent people to. I for a long time I was very critical of sanctuary cities, and I still think it's a problematic policy. But at the same time, when you do have the federal government like sending people to dystopian El Salvadorian prisons without due process, I can kind of understand, Sean, why local authorities wouldn't just be comfortable turning human beings over to them or working with them closely.
I mean, they weren't working with them prior to that, like. Prior to sending, and they were sending Venezuelans to El Salvador because Venezuela was refusing to take their own citizens back. Like, there was a reason for
none
that.
of that justifies.
Also, to be clear, that's a lie. I called this out before, and now I've been completely vindicated on the fact that we literally deposed Maduro in a military operation. To say the United States of America couldn't force Venezuela to take back some people is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
This is actually how they did it, because they started taking back people when their citizens started getting sent to El Salvador. So, like, yeah, we could do it. Like, this was the method that they did do it.
No, you would just tell them and you would just do it. The idea that the U.S. lacked the power here is hilariously naive.
Okay.
All right. Well, guys, I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate both of you for participating in it, and hopefully we'll do it again sometime.
Well, that was fun. Let's see what else we got.
Welcome to Super Bowl 60.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, if you gave.
Oh yeah, this looks like it could have been interesting. Let me speed it up though. We'll watch some of this.
If a charitable interpretation, you could just say that he approached him while he was carrying.
That's not a charitable interpretation. That would be an untrue interpretation, right?
I mean, I could see how someone could give her a charitable interpretation like that.
No, you couldn't. No. If controlling the situation is not doing anything.
Detain her?
Well, but he can't hit her then. If he's not going to careful. If he's not going to detain her, then he absolutely can't push her for no reason.
Well, why not?
Like, the officer's not trying to even detain or arrest. The officer's just mad. I don't know why you can't even just admit that. The officer's pissed off. He's just taking out his rage and he shoves the woman to the ground for no reason. Yeah, but he's not mad and trying to detain somebody. It is what happened. He's just mad. He's pissed off. He shoves the lady. He doesn't even try to detain her. He's got his pepper spray. He starts spraying the dude.
Hey, everybody. Tonight we're debating whether or not Alex Purdy was murdered, and we are starting right now with Steven's opening statement. Thanks for being with us. Steven, the floor is all yours.
Wait, I'm getting my Zoom set up. Oh, man. Is this, do you have to make the windows change or do I make the windows change? I have no idea. No, we're good. Don't worry about it. I figured it out. Okay. I didn't know we had formal opening statements for this, so I'll run through my thoughts. I think on the broadest, most macro perspective right now, if we look at the actions of ICE in Minnesota, I think that they're faulty on a couple of big levels. I think, firstly, the recent wave was inspired by a video by Nick Shirley, where the majority of the claims made in that video are demonstrably and obviously false. Whether we talk about the fact that he went to these daycare centers when they were closed and claimed that nobody was answering, or that he went to daycare centers and didn't bother to look up anything about them beforehand to see if they were even currently functioning or not, or whether he went to office suites and he seemed to be unaware that sometimes you can have a whole bunch of offices in the same building and there's nothing very strange or weird about that, and the fact that you can't go to a home health care provider, their office, and demand to see somebody who will give you home health care, because that's not usually how any of these places work. So I think it's a tragedy that the surge of ICE agents recently to Minnesota was seemingly inspired by that Nick Shirley video. Even broader than that, I think it's sad that Donald Trump has taken an issue like legal immigration that to some extent all of us should have some broad agreement on. So for instance, all of us should agree that we don't want violent illegal immigrants in our country that are felons or committed violent crimes, and has somehow turned it into literally the most polarizing issue ever through constant gags and just deeply unserious approaches to the problem, like the creation of Alligator Alcatraz, like shipping people off to El Salvador, like Kristi Noem taking videos in front of people in cages. I just think it's crazy, it's cruel, it makes everybody upset, and it just divides the country in terms of how we view these issues. I think more specifically, I think it's a tragedy that we've decided that it's okay for ICE agents to become masked up, that it's okay for them to engage in bullying tactics on the civilian population. It seems that a lot of these people are out of control. It seems that they lack the proper training to do ordinary state or local policing operations. And so as a substitution for knowing how to actually do their job, they've just engaged in bullying and brutality. And we've seen that in the case of Renee Good, who was assassinated for literally no reason by a guy who I think said fucking bitch after he killed her, or now the assassination of a guy that was working as a VA nurse who was just trying to pick a woman up off the street that an officer had shoved aside for literally no reason. So with that context set, with the background set, when you look at this specific killing, I think that there are so many ways that this was a horrible event, and I think that this is one of those events that, like, if you can't see how this is horrible, I think you truly will defend basically anything you see on camera as long as Donald Trump signs off on it. I don't know why the officer was just shoving the woman around. If you want to argue that the woman should have been detained and arrested, then there's a time for that. I don't know why police would ever just shove somebody to the ground if you weren't trying to arrest them. That doesn't seem to be the case of what was happening here. It seems like when Priddy was trying to put himself between the officer and the woman, it doesn't seem like he was trying to put his hands on or attack the officer at all at multiple points of the video. It seems like his hand is up. He's slipping over, just trying to like help the woman up. I don't see at any point where it looks like he's attacking or trying to be aggressive towards the officer. And then for absolutely no reason, the officer decides to escalate at every stage of this interaction, starts shoving him around, takes out his mace, starts macing him down, starts tackling him, gets his boys over to tackle him, and then a situation in about 5 seconds just turns into a murder for literally no reason whatsoever. I think that there are multiple stops on this train ride that you can get off where you say, well, you know, the cop had the right to detain the woman, the cop maybe even had the right to push the woman, the cop maybe even had the right to push or detain Alex, but at no point should we ever ride this train all the way to this was an understandable but unavoidable situation that escalated into somebody dying. There were just so many better ways that the federal agent could have handled the situation if he either had the proper training or better attitude towards it. There's just absolutely no reason why this guy should have died in this way. And to watch conservatives abandon all their principles related to law enforcement, related to the Second Amendment, related to the First Amendment in a desperate attempt to justify anything they see happen that unfolds on screen related to an ICE officer is just, well, in this case a CBP, I think, officer is tragic to me.
You got it. Thank you very much for that opening. We're going to kick it over to Alexander in just a moment for his opening as well. But first, just a couple of quick housekeeping things. First, folks, if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, I'm your host, Dr. James. We are a fully neutral platform hosting debates on science, religion, and politics. And our official conference is this Saturday in Houston, Texas, January 31st. That's linked in the description box. DebateCon 7 this Saturday. We're going to kick it over to Alex. I also just put up a poll. Let us know what you think on whether or not Alex Purdy was murdered or not by ICE. With that, Alexander, the floor is all yours for your opening as well.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Destiny. So tonight we're talking about what happened in Minneapolis on Saturday the 24th. Some Border Patrol agents were engaged in a federal immigration enforcement operation, and based on video evidence, you can see a man by the name of Alex Purdy and 2 women blocking agents' vehicles on the road. You can see Alex Purdy specifically kind of directing traffic and figuring out who's Border Patrol and who's not, and sending those who are not on their way while trying to impede on the Border Patrol's vehicles. Then a Border Patrol agent advances towards Purdy and the 2 women, yelling at them to get on the sidewalk, a lawful disbursement of an active investigation. Eventually, this agent gets to one of the women, and she's not on the sidewalk after he's told her multiple times to go on the sidewalk, and he pushes her. Again, he's lawfully allowed to do this to disperse when people are not obeying commands. Directly after he pushes her, Alex Purdy puts his arm and body in between the agent and the woman. The agent takes this as an aggressive move that obstructs him from physically moving the woman to the sidewalk, which he has every right to do. The agent then, I don't believe pepper spray, might not be the right word here, it's called OC spray, and tackles Purdy to the ground, where several other agents join in to try and detain him. During the struggle, that's exactly what it is, it's a struggle, which is by definition resisting, one of the agents sees a gun and yells, "He's got a gun," multiple times.
Oh my God.
Not sure if it's the same agent, but an agent then moves to disarm Purdy, while another agent draws his weapon and places it directly on Purdy's back. This is after hearing, "He's got a gun, he's got a gun." This agent who takes out the gun, puts it on Purdy's back, moves forward to watch for any sudden movements. Now, I have a video where we can see that Alex Purdy's right arm reached for his waistband in a motion like this, where his elbow comes up behind the Border Patrol agent. We can see that in the video if we ever want to pull it up. And I'm not even saying he intended to pull his weapon. right? We don't know his intention. I don't think that was his intention. I'm just saying objectively, when you watch the video, you can see his right arm make that motion. The first movement of his arm actually aligns with the sound of the first gunshot. So when his elbow is above his back and his hand is near his waist, we hear the first shot. Now, this is where we have to speculate a little bit. We don't have all of the information yet. There's obviously an ongoing investigation. I'm sure, hopefully I guess the Border Patrol agents were wearing body cams. Hopefully we get to see those publicly. So either A, one of the officers noticed the hand movement and fired his weapon, or B, Preddy's gun misfired in the hand of the officer who removed the gun from Preddy's waistband. When I first saw the video, I threw it to the side. I was like, I don't know, it seems a little weird. People, are going to make all sorts of videos when this stuff happens, but it does seem like it could be credible because of the type of gun the P320 is known to misfire. I'm not sure, so we'll talk about both situations. If B happened, the misfire, then you have three elements that provide an objectively reasonable officer the justification to fire his weapon in self-defense. He hears that Preddy has a gun, right? He then sees Preddy reach his hand back and hears a gunshot, then he fires his weapon. If A happened, you still have two elements. The officer is made aware that Preddy is armed while resisting arrest. He draws his weapon and aims it at Preddy as a precaution. He then sees Preddy reach his hand backwards towards his waist and fires his weapon in self-defense, defending not only himself but his other officers. Remember, the only thing that matters is the Fourth Amendment test for what an objectively reasonable officer would do in the same situation without 20/20 hindsight. So really it comes down to, did Alex Preddy reach his hand backwards toward his waist before being shot? Here's what does not matter. It doesn't matter that Alex Preddy was legally carrying his firearm. It doesn't matter if Alex Preddy was being unlawfully detained. It doesn't matter if Alex Preddy had a firearm on him the exact moment he was shot. And here's why. One, legally carrying a firearm while resisting officers does not change the possibility of the suspect using this weapon on an officer, right? So once an officer is made aware that the suspect he is detaining is armed, he is well within his right to draw his weapon. United States versus Robinson. I believe this is a Supreme Court case. During a lawful stop, if an officer reasonably believes a person is armed, the person is categorically dangerous even if the gun is lawfully possessed. The exact quote here from Robinson is, "The risk inherent in a forced police encounter is created simply because the person who is forcibly stopped is armed. That makes them dangerous. It makes the situation inherently risky." And then also, same case, whether the firearm is legally possessed is irrelevant to the danger it poses to officers during an encounter. This is Robinson. I have the exact quotes. I'm not going to say them all to bore you, but like this one is 846 Federal 3rd, I think page 700, section 1. I don't know exactly how to read this. A case that proves officers can rely on other officers' information about a suspect is United States versus Sharif. Clear articulation of collective knowledge in weapon context. So the collective knowledge doctrine allows officers to rely on information shared by other officers in determining reasonable suspicion or probable cause. This is Sharif. Again, if a officer gets a call that somebody is driving recklessly, they'll pull them over, they'll ask them sobriety questions, maybe do a field test or whatever. But if that officer gets the same call and says, hey, somebody just cut me off and they waved a gun at me, when the officer stops that car, he's pulling his gun. It all depends on the context and the information. We also have United States versus Taylor. Police officers may draw their weapons, this is an exact quote, when reasonably necessary for their protection. The 8th Circuit confirms the same rule. This is Thompson versus Hubbard. Exact quote, officers may take reasonable action, including drawing their weapons, to protect themselves when they have reason to believe a suspect may be armed and dangerous. It was perfectly reasonable for these officers, once they figured out Preddy was armed, to draw their weapons. One more, Corson versus McMillian. The display of weapons by police officers is not excessive force when the officers reasonably perceive a threat to their safety. 2, it does not matter if Alex Preddy was being unlawfully detained. The provocation doctrine was a 9th Circuit rule. It said that if officers unlawfully provoked a confrontation, whether it's illegal entry or detention, they could be liable for later use of force, even if that force was otherwise reasonable. But in County of LA versus Mendez, the U.S. Supreme Court unanimously rejected the provocation doctrine, and the court held that Fourth Amendment claims must be analyzed offense by offense. Unreasonable seizures or detentions and excessive force are separate questions. Last one here. The reasonableness of force is judged the moment force is used and not by tracing backwards to prior police errors. Number 3, it does not matter if Alex Preddy had a firearm on him at the exact time that he was shot. This is Terry versus Ohio. This is the key holding here. The officer need not be absolutely certain that the individual is armed. The issue is whether a reasonably prudent man would be warranted in the belief that his safety or that of others was in danger. It's Terry versus Ohio, and that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that opening. We are going to kick it into the open dialogue. As usual, gentlemen, we will let it go in terms of genuine open discussion. If it gets too interruptive, we'll break it into 1-minute responses. And then, folks, we're going to have a Q&A following the open dialogue. And then at the bottom right of your screen, you can see that poster for DebateCon 7 this Saturday. You can watch that at home as well. Check out our channel memberships. And with that, we're going to kick it into the open dialogue.
Based on my accounting of the events, I can say it again. Did you disagree with any of it?
Probably, but I guess let's start near kind of the beginning, or I guess one of the first things that I kind of notice.
Okay.
So at the point, why do we think that the officer shoving the lady is like a justified action?
Because when an officer gives lawful command, so they're investigating in the area, right? As far as we know, that's all we have. When he gives lawful commands to disperse, which you can do, I do have some case law for that as well. When he gives those lawful commands, if they do not follow those commands, they can detain them, or if there's a large crowd, push them away and make sure that they're not impeding on the investigation.
Okay, I agree with that. Why did the officer shove this lady here? There was no large crowd? He wasn't detaining her?
Well, there was a bunch of people around. There was tons of people filming. I think we have like 4 different angles of people filming.
Are we able to play videos in the Zoom call?
We can. Last time they were a bit choppy. But you do agree that there's obviously organized people.
Well, hold on, no, I don't agree there was a large crowd. In fact, I would say factually there was not a large crowd. I'm not sure if there are more than a few people. At the time when the officer pushes the lady, there are 2 ladies, and then there's Alex Pretty. I don't know who else. Can you tell me who you're referring to as a large crowd around the shooting?
I would say there's probably at least 10 people on site.
Okay.
Large enough to that detaining every single one for simple obstruction would probably not be reasonable.
So when the officer shoves the lady to the ground, I see 4 or 5 officers behind him. I see another lady to the left of him, and then I see Alex Pretty in front. Where are these 7 other people?
Well, we have like 3 or 4 different angles.
Sure.
Obviously, we hear a bunch of different whistles.
That's okay. In terms of like why you felt the need
6 or 7.
to push her back, I don't see anybody else besides the 3 involved.
Yeah, so maybe he didn't want to detain her at that specific time. He was allowed to use force to get her to comply and move away from the situation.
I don't believe that's true.
Why not?
I don't think an officer can punch you or hit you or shove you if he's not in the process of detaining you. You're about to say, well, he can do something that's not related to what I just said. Yes, they can use force to detain you. Yes, they can use force to arrest you. But simply shoving somebody to move them away?
Yeah. So in USC Section 111, USC 18 Section 111, there's a case, United States versus Summerstead. Section 111 reaches conduct that is less than assault, including physical interference that impedes officers in the performance of their duties. Once this is violated, the officer can use force on you to get you to comply with legal orders.
No. They can use force to detain you. No. If the officer tells you need to move and you say no, can the officer punch you?
No. Yeah, they can push you out of the way, though. That's reasonable force. Punching would be unreasonable force.
Why is pushing somebody to the ground, that's reasonable?
Well, his intention isn't to harm her, whereas the intention with the punch is to harm.
The intention of if you shove somebody, what is she being at the point when he shoves her? What is she even shoving her away from?
Well, she's standing not directly in the street, but in the parking area there. He told her to get on the sidewalk. She wasn't obeying the command.
She's not illegally in the street, though. And you think he can shove her at that point?
He's lawfully dispersing a crowd. Whether you want to say it's
there is no
people, he's dispersing people.
Yeah, but you can't
legally.
No, that's not legal, right?
Yes, it is.
A cop could not walk in front of 5 people who are in an area where the cops are not allowed to. I don't know, assault maybe, but like, you can't just shove people. You can't just shove people to get them to comply. Cops don't do that. That's not what you do as a police officer.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, this is obviously anecdotal, but when a fight breaks out, right? You're at a festival and a fight breaks out. Cops try to, so once the cops get the hands on the victims, they yell at the crowd to disperse.
Yep.
If the crowd does not disperse, they can't sit there and detain every single one of them. They push everybody out of the way. If you're not moving, they're pushing you.
So one, they don't. You're never gonna see a video where one cop runs into a crowd of people like it's a death metal concert trying to push them all away. That you can't. But then two, even in cases where that might happen, I can understand it happening in a case where somebody's directly interfering with a tense situation where they're trying to actively like detain and arrest somebody and they're trying to get somebody off of them. Sure, but that was not the situation at all. It was not even remotely close to the situation. It's the lady's already walking towards the sidewalk. She turns to talk to the cop, and the cop just shoves her into the snowbank because he's pissed off, right? He just shoved her because he's mad.
No, he shoved her because he's giving her a lawful order and she's not obeying, and that's his right to.
He doesn't have a right to shove her because she.
Yes, he does.
Okay, hold on, wait. We gotta play this video. How do I get into the chat here? What do I have to type? Chat.
Well, if you want to share it for the audience, you can use screen share if you use, but you don't have to.
Okay.
But it is
Are you
in the
able
chat
to
right now.
screen share or?
Let's see. With OBS running, it might be a little much on my PC. But do you have it open on your side? Because it's actually really easy to screen share if you wanted. Otherwise, let me give it a shot. And if it gets laggy, then we'll do it a different way. And folks, that poll is in the live chat. Let us know what you think. Thanks for your patience. I'm having a lot of boomer issues.
Also, what was the when you cited USC Title 18 USC 111? What is the purpose of that, or what is this giving us?
So it shows what when an officer can use low-level force on a person who is not complying. So if somebody forcibly impedes, well, I'm just saying this is use of force is under Graham versus Connor, right?
Hold on, use of force things.
Use of force reasonable.
Yeah, but use of force continues everything. These are like department policies. I think USC 111 is just talking about how you can't assault, resist, or impede certain officers or employees, and then it gives like fines
if you violate it.
Yeah, but it doesn't tell you the officer's allowed to punch or push you or hit you. Or whatever.
Right. That's where use of force comes in when you're doing these actions on somebody, right? When you're impeding on a federal investigation.
Yep.
What force can the officer use to get you to comply?
Okay, sure, but I just don't know why we invoked this law. It has nothing to do with that.
Well, I'm just saying that was the law she was breaking.
Potentially,
that allows,
but I want
that law
might allow her to be detained. That's not what he did, though. He just shoved her to the ground.
Right, but you're saying that shoving is not an objectively reasonable use of force in a situation where someone is not complying.
No, it's not. Of course, it's not. Well, you'd be wrong.
Well,
that's not even. You can't. You're never gonna. You can't show me a single video of a cop just shoving somebody to the ground who's just standing out in the open. Like maybe it's part of a struggle or part of a fight. Well, yeah, okay. The way I frame it, I agree, is loaded. But that's why it would be nice to play this video.
I think it's good. That's why you're
I do have the video if you guys would like me to show it. I do have a little scene here in OBS.
Yeah, do it. Go to like 30 seconds and just play it very, very slowly. I want you to tell me at what point here was it necessary for the officer to shove this lady? Like, where was the crowd?
I have case law too.
Where was he? Like, what is he protecting? Like, what is?
Oh wait, I just thought. Okay, you know what I can do? So, Alex, are you able to see it on your side?
I see he started screen sharing. Do I have to do something to see the screen share?
Oh, now I see it.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me just tweak this because here we go.
Just skip ahead to like 30 seconds if you can.
Okay.
We don't need to hear it, right? I don't hear it.
No, that's fine.
So look, I mean, all right, well.
So
pause. It's hard to tell.
Okay, right here. This is good. Okay, pause here. So like, where's the crowd? I see 3 people. There's the one lady who's been shoved, the other lady, and then go back to like 32 seconds and pause it.
So is the person video recording from this angle? This is the second woman. So that's those three.
Okay, sure.
So, but no, there's a fourth woman or person. Whoever's recording this pink jacket, probably a woman. Okay. But there's two women there. There's a guy. Yep. There's someone recording.
Yep.
There's also people arriving in vehicles because they've spotted the ICE agents, right?
Yeah, but they're not here yet, so we're not including them as part of the crowd. There's nothing really happening here, right? He shoves a lady because he's pissed off. We should be able to admit this. Like, it's not like play the thing, and the lady walks out. What is he pushing her for? He's mad. He's pissed off.
He can be both pissed off and push the lady, and it'd be legal.
But he's not pushing her for any good reason. He's just pushing her because he's assaulting her. He's mad.
She's not listening.
She is though. She's literally walking towards. First of all, she's not doing anything illegal right now, and she's just walking towards the side. What is she doing illegal? She's not allowed to stand there.
She's not allowed to impede on investigation.
What investigation is she impeding on?
Well, we actually don't have all of that information. There was just a report released just recently that says there was an investigation. We don't know exactly what it is.
Okay, so we don't see her impeding.
Regardless to the use of force.
Well, so we don't see her impeding on any investigation here. It looks like he's just mad and assaults her. He just shoves her to the snowbank because he's upset.
Okay. Let's say it was a unlawful detention or an unlawful use of force there on her.
Yep.
Now what?
If it's an unlawful use of force, which I think it was, I think I was mad. I think it's understandable that another adult male with a moral compass would be like, "Hey, whoa, don't hurt the lady," and then go over and try to pick her up.
Yep. But is that legal or illegal for him to do?
Well, it depends on what the officer's doing. If the officer's attempting to arrest the lady, then that would be an obstruction of an arrest, and then the officer could detain the man, not murder him. If the officer's just acting wilding out and just smacking a woman, and the guy's moving over to help her up, I don't think the guy's doing anything wrong or illegal there.
Well, if he then approaches the agent, and I don't know if we have any angles that actually show him touching him. The angle that we have, there's someone standing in front of him, I think another agent, so we don't see like if he actually touches the agent. But assault isn't actually touching, right? So if an objectively reasonable officer in his situation, the agent who he got in front of, would think that this man is either assaulting me or about to assault me, he has the right to detain him, correct?
He could detain him, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So then he detains him.
No,
right?
he basically just starts wilding on him.
Tries to. Yeah, so he pepper sprays him, which again is look. I have this right here. I want to bring up.
Why did he pepper spray him?
Because he could.
You can pepper spray somebody when you try to arrest somebody. You can just pepper spray them.
Yes,
immediately.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, what are you citing for that?
Well, we'll get to that. But Bernini versus City of St. Paul, 8th Circuit, 2012. These are exact quotes. Officers were not required to allow demonstrators to continue obstructing streets after being ordered to disperse. And on the physical force, the Constitution does not require police to use the least intrusive method of responding to an exigent situation. There's another one, Crowell versus.
Wait. Let's analyze. So what is that case about? Can you read me a quote from this that I can look this up?
This is Bernini, 665 Federal 3rd, Section 1006. Officers were not required to allow demonstrators to continue obstructing streets after being ordered to disperse. That was the first quote I gave you. The second one, I believe, is in the same section.
Okay, so it sounds like for that first one, it sounds like this doesn't apply to the situation at all, right?
Well, it's not about applying directly to situations. It's about the doctrines that come from these.
Well, yeah, but this is a unit that was apparently attempting to break police lines. They committed several state law offenses, including third-degree riot and unlawful assembly. Yeah, what are we citing this for? What do we think this is giving us the power to do? It seems like the argument was whether or not they had the right to arrest people that were part of this group, and the case held that they had the right to. Wait, real quick. This had nothing to do with just pepper spraying people randomly, or.
Well, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about pushing.
Okay, but if this is a riot,
protesters back.
Yeah, but if this is a group of people that were trying to break a police line, and these people were in an area that had been declared they weren't allowed to be there.
Right, but again, it's the doctrines from the rulings. It's not about the exact specific situation.
The doctrines are applied though to the situations as appropriate. This doesn't sound like a situation where this doctrine would apply.
So when it says the Constitution does not require police to use the least intrusive method of responding to an exigent situation,
true,
that would cover exactly what happened with this lady.
No,
and with
it absolutely
wouldn't. Because what would be the least intrusive?
The least intrusive would probably just be to ask them to move.
Yeah, when they refuse to move.
I don't know. You could call for a guy to come over and tell them they're under arrest, tell them to sit down, tell them they're going to be detained.
Right. So are they required to use the least intrusive method?
No, but just because you're not required to use the least intrusive method doesn't give you carte blanche to use any method that you so choose. Pepper spray is a huge. That's a huge. Like,
no, it's not.
Yes, what do you mean? No,
it's less lethal. It's less lethal. You get over it within the hour.
Within an hour. Hold on. Yeah, but it's still a huge escalation from nobody's really attacked anybody. Well, the officer attacked the lady. Nobody's really done anything yet. To start pepper spraying people is a huge. Like, you're aware that like in the vast majority of arrests, pepper spray is not employed, right? Like that's an exceedingly rare thing.
Again, so even though there wasn't a large crowd here, these are crowd control tactics because they're dealing with crowds of people who are on the line of impeding with them all day, right?
But no, that's not happening here. I don't know what you're talking about there. That's not happening here, right?
No, well, they're in a mode of crowd control.
So there's no crowd to control, and the people aren't doing anything illegal.
Because as they're going around doing their investigations, crowds of people are coming up to them.
That's fine, but that's not happening right now. This isn't a crowd right here. There's no crowd here. There's 3 people. The guy shoves the lady into the stomach because he's mad.
Again,
he's not controlling the situation. He's not doing anything.
Detain her?
Well, but he can't hit her then. If he's not going to, whoa, careful. If he's not going to detain her, then he absolutely can't push her for no reason.
Well, why not? Just because he isn't detaining her doesn't mean he couldn't have, right?
In this case, yeah, that would just be assault battery. He's just attacking her then. No. What is the justification for attacking her if he doesn't have a reason to detain her and arrest her?
Do you have to have somebody use force on you in order to use force on them as an officer?
Do I have to have somebody, or I probably would have to be, do you have to? No, not necessarily. They could just be to detain you, right?
Right, exactly. So instead of detaining, he pushed to get her out of the way because she wasn't.
If you're pushing somebody, it should be somebody that you're willing to detain though, right? If you're going to use physical force on somebody, okay, and he doesn't. It doesn't seem like he has any care to. It doesn't look like he's attempting to. Well, but
it's still lawful.
No, an officer should be in the process of detaining you if he's pushing you. Otherwise, what? An officer could just walk around and find people with probable cause or reasonable suspicion, just start attacking them and say, well, I'm not going to arrest you, I'm going to attack you?
Well, no, you would actually determine it. case by case through an objectively reasonable officer's eyes without 20/20 hindsight.
That determination has already been made by the time you're employing physical force, though, because you're saying that your justification for physical force is you reach the threshold to detain them. So if you're using physical force, you've already made the determination that they could be detained. That's part of what your physical force is being employed for.
You don't have to detain somebody.
You should, though. Otherwise, the officer's just running around attacking people.
Isn't that exactly what people said about Renee Good? He should have just detained her.
Yeah, he probably should have if that's what he wanted to do. Yeah. But that,
and when she fled, what happened?
I don't see how that applies here at all.
Look, irregardless, this has nothing to do with the actual use of force based on the provocation doctrine.
I don't know what provocation doctrine means in this sense, but I'm just saying that in terms of the officer here, I'm just saying for the facts of the matter, right? The officer's mad and the officer shoves the lady. He's not trying to detain her. She's not blocking or impeding anything that we can see. You admitted that. You said that, well, we don't know if there was an investigation. Maybe it was the case that the officer was trying to investigate the underside of the driver's side tire and she happened to be standing in front of it. I don't think that's the case. I don't think you think that's the case.
There was an investigation. We just don't have access to say what investigation there was. We're going off of the testimony of DHS.
I don't think DHS has released any testimony unless you're talking about Christy Noem, whose statements have already been walked back.
So it was about like an hour or two ago, and we don't have. It was DHS's report to Congress, which we don't have access to publicly, but some news outlets reported on it because they.
Okay, sure, but I think that thing an hour ago, one of the big things that came out from that was that the guy hadn't brandished a weapon before officers executed him either. So I don't think anything in that thing is helping.
He did brandish a weapon.
Sure. So just backing up, I'm really trying to figure out. Did you ever figure out how to get this playing, James?
Yep.
Yeah. What is at what point here? What is he pushing this lady for?
So I'm willing to just completely concede that he pushed her unlawfully.
Okay.
He used too much force there.
Okay.
And now also when he was detaining Freddie, it was an unlawful detention. Let's just say, for argument's sake, I concede those points.
Okay.
That doesn't affect the use of force after.
I think it heavily plays into it. That if you, because you've created for your own making a situation where you've basically locked this person into an event where they're going to be killed by the end if they're still carrying a weapon.
No.
How
Not
could,
at all.
At the time of Alex Preddy getting pepper sprayed, from that moment to the end of his life, what could he have done to avoid getting killed reasonably?
Not resisted.
Do you think that a person who's being tackled by 5 or 6 people who's just been pepper sprayed, I didn't even finish my sentence, a guy who's just been pepper sprayed, you think that person can reasonably be of sound mind and just sit there and be chill or whatever?
No, I think that he can absolutely allow officers. There was like 4 or 5 officers trying to grab his arms and legs.
He didn't know that though, right?
It doesn't matter what he does and doesn't. He's surrounded by officers.
He doesn't know. He doesn't even know he's surrounded. How could he have known that?
Says who?
He was pepper sprayed. He couldn't see.
Pepper sprays him and then grabs him, and he doesn't know he's being detained.
That's not what you just said. You said there were 4 or 5 officers around him. I have no idea what he knows at that point. He's been pepper sprayed. The whole point of that is to mess your senses up, so you have no idea what's going on. And then he's tackled to the ground, and then he's
and
killed.
They're yelling commands at him.
Well, multiple people are yelling a lot of things, but I don't know if it's reasonable to expect.
Is he resisting?
I don't know if I would characterize it as that. I would say it's on the border of.
If 5 people were or 4 people were pulling at each one of your limbs, how hard do you think it would be to stay in a fetal position, upright on your knees and elbows?
If
there's 4 people, each have a limb of yours, or are grabbing at your limbs, trying to spread you out, get you flat.
I don't know. It depends. I mean, considering that
it'd be very hard.
Not that hard. The guy, we've seen the guy. He's not a shredded
would you have to
bodybuilder.
resist?
Yeah, to some extent. I'm not saying he's not resisting. What I'm saying is that he's locked on a path to where, like, this is always going to play out this way. If you pepper spray somebody and then try to do something to them immediately after, they're always going to be mind fucked. Like, reasonably, no person's like, oh, let me calmly comply while all of my shit is getting fucked up. That's just never going to happen.
It does happen all the time. People get pepper sprayed and arrested without dying all the time.
Without dying, but it's going to turn into a violent situation afterwards. And
not if they don't resist.
Okay, I'm willing to
resisting a little bit.
I'm willing to wait for us to find a video with a guy getting pepper sprayed and then within 2 seconds afterwards calmly complying with police officers. I'll wait for that video.
I mean, I could literally find one probably very easily.
I know. Yeah, I'll wait for it.
I'm okay waiting right now. Yeah. Either way.
No, not either way, because that's a death. That's a death event. If you get pepper sprayed and then you get tackled, you're always going to be trying to. You're going to. No, I haven't, thankfully. But like, you're going to.
What would you know about that?
I did the 1 chip challenge. I've eaten the spiciest chip available to all of mankind.
Were you incapacitated? I have too, and actually, it is similar to getting pepper sprayed, except it's not in your eyes.
Except it's not in your eyes and nose.
But that feeling in your eyes is not going to literally incapacitate you. You still have some of your sense ability.
Barely. What do you think the point of pepper spraying somebody is? This is a mutually exclusive decision. If you're saying you can be pepper sprayed,
have you not seen people get tased and still just eat it and just come right after cops?
No, that's only when the taser doesn't make the correct contact.
And people are messed. They get pepper sprayed. I could pull the video right now. I don't know if actually we could play it on here, but a man has a blade, right? Cop pulls up. He sees the blade, gets out of the car. The guy instantly charges him. They're running in circles as the cop's shooting him, and the guy runs for like 15 seconds after him after being shot 6 times by a 9mm.
Okay.
So pepper spray and being tased even, you're not going to immediately be incapacitated.
All of these things function differently. A pistol shot is just wounding you. Depending on where you hit, you might not even necessarily register the feeling at all. I don't think adrenaline counteracts spicy capsaicin fucking up of your senses or whatever. Okay. And in terms of how a taser is supposed to function or a stun gun is supposed to function, when the 2 electrodes make contact with your body, it passes a current that locks your muscles up. It's not about it hurting you or causing pain. So all of these things get compliance in a different type of manner. Generally, pepper spray, when you pepper spray somebody, their shit is going to be fucked for a little bit. And the idea of pepper spraying somebody and then tackling them immediately, there's always going to be some level of like the guy doesn't even know what's going on. Like if this guy was fighting for like 5 minutes after getting pepper sprayed, or even a minute maybe, I could understand this, but like from the time of him being sprayed to executed, is it even 10 seconds?
And in that time, he was able to resist arrest physically.
Yeah, but he's always going to be resisting.
Reach towards his waistband. Honestly, I don't think the intention there was to pull the gun. I think what happened maybe even was that he felt that his gun wasn't on him.
Maybe he was just trying to get up.
And that could be the case, but if an objectively reasonable officer sees that as a movement towards grabbing his gun, he has every right to pull the trigger.
So then he's locked on a death passage. He can't. There's no way off the train.
Don't reach. Don't resist and don't reach.
How about don't pepper spray somebody? How about don't pepper spray somebody for no reason? There was no reason to pepper spray him.
And
right?
even if that was
wait, was there a reason
to do with the use of force?
Well, of course it does, because you're inducing a situation where you're just gonna have to kill the guy.
No, officer created jeopardy is completely different than that.
How?
Because officer created jeopardy is specifically about the officer placing himself in immediate danger, not in potential danger.
How is he not placing himself in danger when he's pepper sprayed a guy and then climbed on top of him and then found out he had concealed carry on him, and now that's given him justification to execute him?
Right. So at what point was he in immediate danger?
When he was using at what point was the officer in immediate danger?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess he felt that way when they identified he had a firearm.
When? No, that's potential danger. When did the officer felt like he was in immediate danger?
As soon as they identified he had a firearm.
No, that's potential danger. If there's no reach, it's unjustified, right? There's cases like this all the time where cops pull people over. They either have illegal firearms on them or legal.
You think that the reason why he shot him was because he saw the guy reach for a gun?
Yeah, if not.
So you have no information to justify that, right? You can admit that.
Yeah, I have the video.
No. You don't have any statements.
Yes.
You can't see where the guy's eyes are. That's a total speculation on your part, right?
No.
What do you mean no? You think you know
that? Look, the guy has the gun on his back because he pulls the gun because there's potential danger now that he's armed.
Wait, who pulls the gun?
What's he looking for?
The officer pulls the gun.
Yeah, there's the guy directly behind him. So when the guy grabs the gun off of him, I'm not sure what cop knows where the gun is at this point, but
yeah,
the guy takes the gun and he dips off, right?
Yep. So he's taking the gun. So the other officer's looking for a firearm, then he's seeing the gun be removed. If we're gonna go with that.
No. So they say he's got a gun. Even if he removes the weapon and the officer sees him remove the weapon, you don't assume that he doesn't have any other weapons on him.
Okay.
You don't have to.
All right.
Legally.
So like every single part of this explanation is contrived, and you don't believe any of this.
How?
So the officer assaulted that woman in the street for no reason. There was no crowd. You made that up. You said there was a crowd. There was no crowd. We watched the video. There's no crowd. So he's shoving. He's attacking a woman for no reason. You have a guy. You have a guy who is he shot him because he's undertrained, and the officer induced a situation where an idiot with a gun, which is not what we expect cops to be, by the way. The reasonable cop standard is based on a police officer with training, much the same way that we would look at an EMT and his actions and at the scene of an accident as the reasonable standard for an EMT, not an ordinary person.
How much
who's
training
trained.
does the officer who shot have?
I don't know. How much training does he have? Should be enough to be a federal
agent.
agent.
Okay, so you don't know then.
Enough to
so
be
why
a
are you saying he's
federal
not trained?
If he doesn't, then he's just a murderer, and he's out on the streets trying to murder people. So then he's just.
But you said earlier he's not trained.
What?
You said he's undertrained or something like that.
I said it seemed to be evidence of poor or bad training. Yes.
And you're just saying that because
there was
he
no
shot him?
because one, he was assaulting a woman for absolutely no reason, and two, because he was employing pepper spray for absolutely no reason.
Again, it has absolutely nothing to do with the use of force.
What do you mean? What has nothing to do with the use of force?
The prior situation here has nothing to do with at the time that the force was used, what was going on.
But what do you mean? Hold on. If they were fighting or whatever, and they had like an extended back and forth, and then the police officer, in fighting the guy was like, I'm gonna have to shoot you, or I'm gonna have to detain you, or whatever, and the guy's like still fighting or whatever, and then at that point the police officer, deploys the pepper spray, and the guy continues to fight. Well, you've put the guy on notice. The guy knows you're gonna pepper spray him. He knows you talked about this. At this point, you have a much more reasonable assumption that this guy is willing to, I guess, fight to the death or something, right?
Yep.
None of that happened at the lead up to this though. He shoves after assaulting the woman. He goes to kind of shove the guy.
Armed.
Who is?
Ready?
The officer doesn't know that.
He doesn't know it until he pulls his weapon. He pulls his weapon after he figures it out.
Yeah, after he's already pepper sprayed the guy. He had no reason to pepper spray the guy.
It doesn't. So, pepper spraying somebody doesn't give them the right to resist arrest and or reach.
I never said it gives them the right to resist arrest, but he had no reason to pepper spray the guy.
It doesn't matter.
It literally does, because it plays into whether or not he thinks the guy would engage in a form of lethal behavior towards him. It factors into it.
Let's say it was justified. Let's say it was justified, right? Let's say the lawful order or the spraying of the pepper spray was justified. That would only be justified under the Fourth Amendment, right?
If what?
If the pepper spray was justified, it's a use of force. It would only be justified under the Fourth Amendment.
I don't know about the Fourth Amendment, but okay.
The Fourth Amendment is that an officer, I can't quote it exactly, but this is where the use of force comes from. This is how we judge use of force.
Okay,
in every situation.
I don't think that it matters for a continuum of force.
Yes, it very much matters, the Fourth Amendment.
Okay.
Now, this is where Graham versus Connor comes in and all of that. So with the Fourth Amendment...
Wait, what do we think? What are we taking from Graham versus Connor here?
Let me pull it up. The calculus of reasonableness must embody allowance for the fact that police officers are often forced to make split-second judgments. It's not the exact one I'm looking for.
Okay. He didn't have to make a split-second judgment here, right? The officer created all of these...
Of course these are split-second.
No, he's creating all of the negative situations. He's doing all of this. The officer's the one inducing all of these things, right?
And even if the provocation doctrine was one that would say, okay, if the officer illegally used force to make this person comply or to detain this person, then force later could be questioned, even if it was completely reasonable. Then the Supreme Court threw that out, so you can't use that. So
okay, hold on. Let me stop. Hold on. I don't expect you to understand this, but I'll explain for the audience because you're not understanding what you're trying to explain here. What you're explaining is correct. So let's say that an officer, had a no-knock warrant, or let's say the officer had a search warrant for a house, and the officer's conducting an illegal search because they went to the wrong address. And let's say that when they go into the house or whatever, the guy's like, well, fuck you, like I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, or whatever. And the officer's like, oh, look, I have a search warrant. And the guy's like, oh, I don't care. And the guy starts attacking the cop, and then he pulls out a knife, and the cop shoots and kills him. It doesn't matter that the original search warrant wasn't accurate. The cop doesn't lose the right. What did before?
That was the provocation doctrine. The provocation doctrine would say then the use of force is no longer acceptable.
I'm not concerned with that. I don't know what is when you say provocation doctrine. What are we referring? Is this prior to Felix v. Barnes, or this is the most recent stuff I've read on this? Regardless, what I'm saying here is that like the cop doesn't lose the right to self-defense just because an initial action might not have been legal, right? I think we can all agree with that. I think that's reasonable. I think ethically, morally, it makes sense.
The provocation doctrine was struck down.
Sure. Okay. It makes sense, right? It makes sense that the cop, just because the cop might make a misstep in the beginning, now his life is forfeit if the other guy decides to respond. Okay. However, you engaging in illegal actions as a police officer, especially those involving physical force, should factor into your overall determination of the threat that's posed to you by the person that you are detaining. So, for instance, if a police officer...
You just contradicted yourself.
I didn't. Let me explain.
Yeah.
If a police officer tells somebody, okay, like, hey, you're under arrest, I'm going to arrest you, and then the guy starts running, and the guy's running away, and he's trying to escape, and he's hopping through fences, and he might be breaking through windows and do whatever, right? The guy seems like he's trying to escape, he's been put on notice, he's under arrest. If at some point, the cop and him get into a scuffle, well, this guy wants to fight, and there might be a reach for a gun or whatever, where the officer's like, I don't know, this guy might try to kill me. And that would be reasonable given the totality of the circumstances leading up to that event. However, let's say that a cop thinks that somebody broke a law rule and he just really fucking wants to arrest a guy or whatever. Let's say that the cop like runs up to some dude behind him in public and tackles him, and that guy starts resisting. Your calculation there for, oh, he's resisting, so he must want to fucking kill me. That's not the same calculation. There's a lot of reasons why. Okay, well, you're just wrong. You're wrong ethically, morally, legally. You're wrong. Like logically, nothing makes.
No, you're talking about use of force now. You just changed it.
No.
Yes, you just changed it. Repeat what you just said.
If an officer would have randomly, from the perspective of the person being tackled, if the police officer would just randomly tackle you and would arrest you, you would expect an ordinary person that's not presenting a threat to you to engage in some level of resistance. Yeah, he just got tackled.
Does
He
he
doesn't know
know
what's
he's being arrested?
going on. He might not.
Okay, so that's completely different.
It's not. Alex Preddy didn't know he was being arrested. He probably had no idea what was going on.
He was being arrested?
Correct. He just got pepper sprayed.
He was in the face of Border Patrol agents.
He just got pepper sprayed. The whole point of a pepper spray is to discombobulate a person's senses. Is to make them know what's going on.
5 people tackle him to the ground.
He's not even cognizant of what's going on. The guy just got
It
pepper.
must be the fellow protesters tackling him to the ground. You're right.
First of all, I don't think everybody tackling the ground. Wasn't just the one. Wasn't it? Well, you're all the women that you said presented a threat to this cop. They needed to get in crowd control.
All right, so now you're saying there's no crowd. There's only these 3 women and all of these Border Patrol agents. But he didn't know that 5 grown men tackling him to the ground was him being detained.
I don't think he was aware of how many. If you would have asked this guy at the moment that he got shot, how many men do you think are on? I don't think he would have any idea. No.
Yeah, but if you asked him if he was being detained, he would say absolutely. That's why I'm resisting.
No, I don't think so. I think you're delusional to think that. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I mean, it's clear that he obviously knew he was being detained, and he was obviously resisting. And then again, I don't think he intended to pull his weapon, but he did make furtive movements that I think an objectively reasonable officer could see as him trying to reach for a weapon after finding out that he was armed.
No. What on the ground? When
Honestly,
a person is on the ground, how many ways can you move your hands that doesn't look like you're reaching for a weapon?
Why are you trying to get up? Why are you trying to?
Because you've just been pepper sprayed and shoved to the ground. You have no idea what's going on.
And people are literally grabbing your limbs and trying to arrest you, most likely issuing commands. If we watch that video, I guarantee you will hear a bunch of commands being thrown at him to stop resisting, most likely. And then all he has to do is go limp, and they will do the rest.
I don't know if the guy has the wherewithal to go limp right after he's been pepper sprayed, but you're never going to get on that point because it destroys your entire. Yeah.
No matter what his wherewithal or intention was. What if he was drunk?
He wasn't.
Yeah, but what if? What if he was cocked out of his mind? He had no idea what was going on. He did the same exact thing. Would you make the excuse for him there?
If the officer's aware of it, then yes, you would. As the Supreme Court has agreed.
Says who?
The Supreme Court. You have to use the totality of circumstances to figure out what led up to that moment to see what the reasonable officer would assume the person is trying to do. If a person is drunk, you would evaluate their actions differently than a person who's sober. Yes.
Right. So if a drunk guy seems to reach for a weapon, a cop can't shoot him.
Depending on how drunk he is, yeah, you would evaluate the actions of a drunk guy differently than a sober guy. Yes.
Okay.
Do you think that a cop would? Do you think a cop would evaluate the actions if you know a guy is wasted? He would evaluate those actions the same as a guy who's not wasted, who's sober.
If it seems that he's reaching for a weapon, yes, he would evaluate.
We don't know that this guy's reaching for a weapon. The guy is on the ground. Every movement that he makes could be reaching for a weapon.
It does. Well, if it seems to an objectively reasonable officer, and you can make that argument based on the video, then they have the right to shoot. And he doesn't just hear, oh, he's got a gun, pulls the gun out and shoots.
Pulls the
gun out.
James, play the video and tell me at what point is he reaching for his weapon here? Could that officer behind him say he's reaching for the weapon?
I'd like to play my angle.
Okay. I will play it from where we have it.
We might need the other one. I don't know if this is the same one, but go ahead. You can play this one first if you like.
Can you see it play on your side?
No.
Oh, that's right. Okay, 2 seconds. Let me, I'm trying to remember how I did it just before because I had it screen shared. Okay, I'm going to play the one that, while I'm screen sharing it, because the way I had it was different. So screen share, and then let me just find a way. Oh, yeah, I know. I think this is how I did it. Okay.
Some of these angles, when the shots get fired, they go crazy. So I don't know.
I think it was the same video that I was
You're not going to be able to see from that angle.
Buddy?
I got here's
It'll simplify my little production setup. If you're able to screen share it from your side, Alexander.
I can screen share it. It just might be choppy as like last time, but let's try it.
Okay. And then if you'd like to have audio, just be sure you click that little box that'll ask you when you click share
I should
it first.
do audio. Let's see.
And then, folks, that poll is still in the live chat. Currently, the plurality or the highest voted option in response to do you think Alex Preddy was murdered was
from last night. Yep.
44% for yes, followed by 39% for no, and then 17% I don't know enough yet. And Alex, we can see yours now, your video.
Cool. All right. So this is slowed down.
This
is not. But this is just showing the movement of his.
Took them a little longer than normal to come up with their arguments this time, didn't it?
Yep.
So down here, you can actually see his hand, right? See his hand down.
They
right,
needed
now watch it come
extra
up.
time.
See how it's sliding up?
No.
You're gonna see. What do you mean? His hand's gone from this bottom here. You can see the hand. It's also tough. Is it skipping for
Keep
you?
playing.
Or is it
No, keep
smooth?
playing. Let's see where he's reaching for his gun.
Look, right? His elbow comes up. You can see it right there. That's his elbow, and then he gets shot there, and all the sound on.
Hasn't the firearm literally already been removed at that point?
It doesn't matter.
What do you mean it doesn't matter? So he's good. So he's dead. So he's locked in a death sequence. He's locked in a death sequence.
First off, they say he's armed. So they remove a gun, but I don't know exactly who knows.
So you're telling me the cop behind him holding the gun can see so well that he can determine the guy's hand coming up, but he can't see the other cop pull the gun out of his waistband?
Even if he does,
You're telling me that the police
it doesn't
officer
matter.
can see the hand coming up, but he can't see the officer's hand reaching in and pulling the gun from his waistband?
Go ahead. I'll concede that too, and it doesn't matter.
It does, though, because we're saying a reasonable officer standard. You're telling me that the officer was able to see the guy reaching up with his hand that was in front of his body, but he couldn't see his fellow officer pull the gun from his waistband?
If you remove a firearm for somebody, does that mean they can't have another firearm?
Cryptic? What are you even
So
up
then in that
to?
case, the guy's hands can move anywhere in his body. He could have a gun hidden literally anywhere. He could be Vash the Stampede and his hand could turn into a gun. Or
Well,
he could be the
it's
Terminator,
very-
or he could be any number of Ghost of the Shell complex
Tiny
anime
just
machine.
finished.
He could have guns anywhere in his body. So in that case, anywhere he moves his hands is a fair shoot.
It's always harder to defend in court when they don't find a weapon on him at all.
Wait,
There's
that shouldn't
plenty
matter.
of
Wait,
cases.
no, hold on, careful. That shouldn't matter. It should be a reasonable officer's interpretation at the time. It doesn't matter if he's another gun or not. It depends on what a reasonable officer could determine. You're saying the
there's
two gun
tons of
theory.
cases.
Name one.
I'll have them right here.
Okay, give me one. We'll look it up. Because the other one didn't support anything you were saying at all. It was about dispersing a crowd of people that were unlawfully assembled.
I'll boost it or check you out a screen share on this side. Okay. And then
He's a
you'll get
paid
it the same way
opponent.
that you had it before.
Got really excited when they started arguing about Five Eyes agents. He heard that and thought they were talking about Five Guys burgers and fries. I do kind of love Five Guys, though. That's true. I'd get excited too if I was him.
And then, folks,
Fair
if you'd
play.
like to participate in discussions, including we are hoping to do in-person ones shortly, let me load this on the bottom right of the screen. You can reach out as we're planning on hosting these in Los Angeles and Phoenix in the next 6 months.
Sorry, I have a quote I'm looking for. It says
Oh.
the officers do not need to be certain if there is a weapon.
DebateCon?
Yeah, no one's doubting that.
What's that?
But to assume the guy has
Okay,
a
so you
second
don't need
weapon?
Debate
Yes, you don't need to be
on
certain if there is a weapon or not. What does that mean? It means the guy was uncertain. Was he certain that that man did not have a weapon?
Are you saying a cop can just kill you all the time, no matter what?
No, not at all. Listen. The furtive movement has to be made.
That video is not showing his rambling.
Houston, Texas. Modern day debate. Okay. Wait, why are you giving this to me in Spanish? Alright. Well, I don't see any info. That would be cool. Oh, Aurora. Cryptic, you see Cryptic ask you a question? She might have stepped away for a couple seconds. There she is. There she is.
Off like little random points. Also, that video that you have, that video is not showing his. That's not his elbow coming up. That's just him standing up. That's his butt in that video.
What?
It's his butt in the
That's not
video.
his butt.
It is.
He's wearing khakis, and the thing you're seeing is the color of his jacket.
No. There's a reason why you don't have this from any other video angle, and there's a reason why it's just a mega dick suck account that's like the one posting this. Legacy Media will never show you this video of Alex Pretty reaching for his loaded handgun before an ICE agent shot him in self-defense. Pass it on, right? Like the DHS doesn't even stand by. Well, the DHS doesn't even stand by this statement. So like,
down from the same angle.
yeah, that's fine. But like, you can see it's like it's artifacting kind of like the coloring is kind of off, like on his pants or whatever. Like, you can see his pants almost like transform. I didn't say it's fake. It's just JPEG artifacts or whatever you call that MP4 or whatever artifacting. I don't think that's his elbow. I don't think so. And even if it was,
his hand moves in the same direction.
I mean, I can give you. I linked another video that highlights where his hand. I linked another video that's from multiple angles that shows where the hand is the entire time. He wasn't reaching for his weapon. Even DHS isn't making this claim. We're not going to make this
directly after that. Well, if they don't, then it would be unjustified.
Oh, okay. So if it came out later on, or if we saw from other angles that the officer was actually holding his arm the entire time, and that's not his arm coming up, then we would say, oh, well, the shoot was unjustified.
Yeah, because where's the immediate threat?
Agreed. Okay, well, then contend with this. I linked another video. This Reddit post. James, play this one.
An officer can't just claim you have a weapon on you, or even know you have a weapon on you and shoot because of that reason alone. We agree there.
Let me remember, how did I do this? Yeah, okay, I've got it.
The only other way would be as if that gun actually did misfire, and it would be reasonable to expect that this person fired. But we don't know if that happened.
Like 20 different ways for the cops to kill you, I guess.
I mean, there is. Don't resist officers, especially while armed.
You shouldn't pepper spray somebody for no reason and then expect them to be able to immediately comply.
Well, you should either way. That's the law.
Okay.
So if you want to change the laws, that's fine. But legally, he was well within his right to do everything he did.
I don't think so. I think there's a reason why the federal government helped him flee the state.
All right, I have the video showing so the audience can see it. And Alex, it might be easiest this time if you play it from the start, and that way you're able to watch it in real time. So I've got it back at 0.
This is the video you shared from Reddit?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Let me know. All right, hitting play at 3, 2, 1.
I've been blocked by network security. What did I do?
No problem. I will share it, and you'll be able to see it that way.
I don't even use Reddit.
If you have a VPN or something, it might be a certain VPN is.
You've been going on those websites I told you not to go on, Alexander.
All right, I got it pulled up on my end too now.
Okay, if you can't,
just doing incognito.
You got it. Let me take it out of screen share then. Stop share.
What?
Thanks for your patience.
What specific, like what second are we focusing on here?
I'm at first second in and hitting play in 3, 2, 1.
It's just like the first 15 seconds, basically.
I don't. What's the point?
I don't see at any point here where he's reaching for his firearm.
In the first 15 seconds. When does? Yeah, it doesn't show the first shot in the first 15 seconds.
The shot happens at 14 seconds.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it completely skips like at least 2 seconds there.
No.
Yes, you can see the camera angle switch. He's standing up, right? All right, so look.
No,
right,
the camera angle's not switching. It's just it's full screening the bottom camera. Nothing is skipping.
So is the sound on for this?
The audience can hear it on my side.
So right there, you see the exact same thing you see in my video. It's the same exact angle.
His arm is being controlled. There's a whole officer to his right. Or hold on, let me.
And his arm comes up.
Is it your position that this man has the strength to move his arm back to go and get his weapon, a weapon that's been removed from his body, by the way, that he has the strength to get that arm back, independent of the entire full-grown adult male kneeling next to him that's restraining his arm?
It very well could be that he released pressure because he heard he has a gun. As you can see, all of them eventually back up.
Why would you release pressure from a man when they told you he's got a gun?
Because he has a gun. Because they're getting ready to get back and use force. But either way, if he didn't, he was obviously resisting.
Okay.
Either way, if he didn't, he was obviously resisting.
Ridiculous. Of course he's resisting. He's always going to be resisting. He just got pepper sprayed. His mind is. Yeah, that doesn't give the cops the right to kill you. That doesn't give the cops the right to kill you.
Hold on. You're saying he's resisting 4 people, right?
I don't even know if he's aware there's 4 people on him.
Is he resisting 4 people? I don't care if he's aware.
Yes.
Okay. So then isn't it just as likely that all 4 people would be able to flatten him out versus one person just on
I don't know. They're on ice. They're partially mentally retarded. They don't have a good grip on him. They're getting the code instead.
Your question doesn't make sense.
Well, the guy is kneeling next to him. I mean, what I'm saying is what happened, right? They took the gun. They did have control of his arms. The guy gets shot unarmed. There's no allegations from DHS. That last claim you made about the statement they released an hour and a half ago, they said he wasn't brandishing his weapon. I don't know if there's been any claims by. It didn't say that.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying he's reaching for his weapon. I didn't let you finish.
I don't think any statement has come from DHS saying that he was reaching for his weapon at all. That's just your opinion. They've never even claimed that. You're giving an opinion there.
They didn't put out an official thing either. They literally said they're doing an investigation, and they gave some facts of the case.
Sure. So you have no evidence that this guy saw him going for a gun at all. He's already disarmed by the time it happens.
Well,
Keep in mind also that by the time
looking for it.
You don't know that. Who's actively looking for what?
When you, I don't know if you still have this up, James. Let me see if this angle has it, so we don't have to change videos. I don't know if this shows it. Oh yeah, so you can see I'm at about 9 seconds here. The guy with the jeans and the green shirt. Yep, same video. The guy with the
2 seconds. Let me just get to that point.
Yeah, no worries.
You said 9 to 10 seconds in.
Yeah, we're looking at it says The gray shirt guy is still there. His arm's basically on the gun of Alex Pretty's gun, and then behind him is the officer with the green shirt or whatever, brown shirt, and jeans.
Let's see. I'm definitely at 9 seconds in, where it has the words hands and gun.
All right. So yep. Is the officer reaching for his gun yet? I'm at 10 seconds now. He's got his hand on his holster like this. The officer behind Pretty.
2 seconds. I'm gonna try to zoom in just a little bit. And
Like the officer that shoots him even moves to the other side of his body. He wouldn't even have seen that arm moving. How would he have even seen it?
He's got a top-down view of his whole body.
Barely. In the middle of like 5 struggling people, he moves to the other side. How can he have this great of a perception of where the guy's arm is moving based on the position of his elbow? One other guy's there, but he can't tell that another guy just disarmed him.
So resisting arrest shows intent.
No, it depends though on how they're resisting. It depends on what's the lead up to that moment. Do you acknowledge that it depends on the lead up to the moment of them resisting or no?
No. If it was based on unlawful use of force,
that's fine. If you don't acknowledge that, that's fine. But you're out of step with where the Supreme Court, where the law is right now on this. You have to do it.
Why
It has
was
to
the
be.
provocation doctrine shut down?
I don't know and I don't care. That's not relevant. That's not how we determine these things
Yes, it
anymore.
is.
Right now, what we look at is a
You're
totality
saying-
of the causes. We're looking at a totality of the causes, okay, that lead up to that event. That's what the Supreme Court ruling is right now on how we analyze the
You're
situation.
also saying, I agree. You're also saying that if you have a previous Fourth Amendment violation, you can use that to understand the next Fourth
Correct.
Amendment violation. You can't.
You can. You
The
absolutely
provocation
can.
doctrine was shut down. I proved that 100%.
I don't think you can't even articulate what the provocation doctrine is.
I did in my opening statement. Did you hear it?
Say it again.
Were you paying attention? I'll read it again for you.
Because you can't articulate what the provocation doctrine is. You're looking up the AI generated answer you have. So if you can't even articulate this doctrine, that I don't think is in use anymore. Because Felix v. Barnes, I'm not
Here's
poisoning
my
the well.
answer. If officers unlawfully provoked a confrontation, they
Correct.
could be liable for later use of force. That's the provocation doctrine.
Yes, but that means what provocation doctrine, assuming what you just read is true, what that's saying is that just because an officer provokes somebody doing something illegal doesn't mean the officer is liable necessarily for all the future use of force. That could still factor, though, into their determination for whether or not their life is at risk when they're dealing with somebody.
Well, was the officer's life, if Pretty reached for his weapon or made a movement that seemed like it, would that constitute a justifiable use of force?
It depends on the situation leading up to it.
So if it's proven that he made a movement that looked like, to an objectively reasonable officer, he was reaching for a gun, that wouldn't necessarily prove a justified use of force there?
Wouldn't necessarily, correct.
Says who?
Well, one, he was disarmed, and then two, says the Supreme Court.
So? People have been shot without weapons on them, and the officers have been justified in use of force because of the way that they've moved toward their waist.
Yeah, but you have to consider the factors leading up to that. The cops just pepper sprayed the dude, and a ton of people were tackling to the ground. You have no idea what's going through this head. You can't determine at that moment, I know this guy's a killer. I know this guy's going to start attacking one of us, right? That's why I'm saying there was a larger lead up to that event. If the officer and him were having a row, they were going back and forth. The guy started talking like, I got my gun on you, I'll kill you guys if you take me down or whatever. And then they take him down, and then they see him reaching. Now you have a much better argument for like, oh, a reasonable person, a reasonable officer even could have felt like his life was at risk at that point. But if you just start pepper spraying a dude in the face, and then you start tackling him, and the guy's like, and then you're beating him over the face with your fucking pepper spray can, and the guy's like arms are reaching around. No, that's a totally different situation. That's nothing to do with the legality of the conduct of the cops beforehand. It's just that a ton of people could respond in wild situations there where a reasonable officer wouldn't necessarily think, oh man, this guy's trying to murder us for sure.
Would he have been arrested after the fact for resisting? Alex Pretty?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So he committed the crime, right?
That has nothing to do with this argument, but yeah. You don't get executed in the United States for committing crimes generally.
No, but when the crime is resisting arrest or resisting lawful detention, or just detention in general, when you resist this and you're armed, courts have decided that you are inherently risky. It's an inherently risky situation. That's why it's okay for him to pull the gun. Do you disagree with that?
I don't know what you mean inherently risky. You're plugging your own language into here. Everything is inherently risky. There's always a risk in a physical confrontation.
Yeah, well, risk of serious bodily harm or death.
Just because a person has a firearm on them? No.
Yes, it's potential risk. More so than someone who does not or you do not know if they have a weapon on them.
Yeah,
Once
but
you know someone is armed, the risk is presented.
The cop didn't initially know he was armed.
No, but once he did, he pulled his firearm out, right?
Yeah, but then he was
Do you think
disarmed.
that he was allowed to pull his firearm out?
I think pulling the firearm is maybe okay.
Okay, and then you said he was disarmed, and I've asked you this before. Is it unreasonable to think that just because you pulled one firearm off of somebody that they don't have another weapon?
Yes, that's unreasonable.
How is that unreasonable?
What is the percentage of perpetrators that carry multiple weapons on them?
It doesn't matter.
It literally does matter. If it's one person,
No, it doesn't.
then that goes to the reasonableness. It's an objective standard, yes. If there's been one person in all of human history, then you would say, well, it's an unreasonable thing. If 90% of perps carry 2 guns on them, you say it's very reasonable to assume he has a second one.
Not at all. It's not based on that, because if you had a 1% chance of dying from skydiving, would you skydive?
I don't know what the chance. Maybe I don't know what the chances are of
Would it
dying.
be reasonable to skydive?
1% seems kind of high to me. I don't think I would risk it.
Okay, so there are people who would, right?
Sure.
Okay, is it reasonable? It's within reason to assume that I should be safe here?
I don't even know how to. I don't know how to compute the question.
Okay. All I'm saying is, just because it's a 1% chance, which is probably much higher than that, but let's just say it's 1%, which seems low. Because it's a life or death situation, right? If it's the
With
case
this
that you're
argument,
wrong on
every
that
single
1%,
thing.
Wait, if it's no, because in court,
Everything
cops literally have this
collapses.
lenience.
They don't. Everything collapses right now into because isn't it the case that when you pull someone over or when you go to arrest somebody, they could have a gun? You know what? I'll submit this to you. There is a higher chance that a person that you don't know if they have a gun or not. There's a higher chance that they have a gun than there is that a person with one gun has 2. So this whole argument is absurd. It collapses in on itself immediately.
And if they make a quick movement to their waist and get shot, there have been tons of cases where the cops are justified in this use of force.
It depends. There are not tons of cases why you're never able to cite one. Okay, there are not, and it depends on what's going on leading up to the shoot. If a guy is being tackled and there's a bunch of cops on him, his arms are going to be flailing, especially if you just have pepper spray and a cop is hitting him in the head over and over again. It's going to impact how the guy's acting, such that it should change how you perceive those actions.
Yeah, well, it literally doesn't matter because he was resisting arrest.
Resisting arrest doesn't give you right to kill you. He wasn't reaching for his gun.
No,
You haven't proven that at all. And you haven't proven that the officer perceived that at all.
Arrest while armed, which means the potential risk there is well known.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't give you the right to kill.
Firearm and kill somebody. It does once he makes the movement. That
We
could
don't
be
see that
seen
he's
as
made
him
the
reaching
movement.
for his waist. I showed the video. I mean, I think
We saw the video. None of the other officers there felt the need to pull their gun.
A JPEG artifact.
None of the other officers felt the need to pull a firearm, and he was disarmed beforehand.
2 officers shot him.
Okay,
So
one
there were
other.
two.
Well, what's the other guy that shot? Did he do it in response to the first officer shooting, or because he thought there was a legitimate risk and they
Well, I'm
shot
just saying you
similarly?
said there was none, but an officer can't just shoot because somebody else shoots. They have to look at the threat themselves.
Well, but if multiple people are evaluating the same situation, if there's 5 officers and only one perceives a threat, that might speak a little bit to the reasonableness of his perception there. No?
Well, the 2 officers shot. Everybody backed up.
Well, that's what I think about, like, the Renee Good thing. If there was only one guy firing, if you look at the handbook, like, other officers are also supposed to do the same thing if they feel the person is in danger, and they did not. As for Alex Preddy, it just seems like one guy said gun and everybody pulled their guns out and just started going happy gun time. How crazy MAGA's now anti-2A. Well, because MAGA doesn't have any scruples. It's just whatever supports my position is what I'm going to do, right? Whatever helps our side the most is my new position. It's, it is literally that. Yeah, one day they'll believe one thing, the next day they'll believe another thing, because it's not about actually holding to principles. It's about owning the libs, right? And all these people they've been made to scapegoat, seeing them die and suffer.
Shots were fired, and the other
What up,
actually if the
Cinderella?
other officers
What up,
shot,
yeah?
they might have been unjustified because by the time they backed up and
Before
unholstered their
getting
weapons,
killed by
the
ice.
guy was clearly
Nice.
dead.
I don't know if they could determine that in that shallow
Well, they
time
didn't
period.
shoot.
Well, my understanding is one officer shot and another one.
Listen, if you pull out that weapon, Cryptic, you know you're gonna get shot. He's reaching.
One might have pulled after, but I'm pretty sure there was one guy that shoots. I don't think 2 of them are shooting side by side. I think the other one pulls it in response to the
That
first
was
guy
one
doing
of
it.
the facts. Yeah, that was one of the facts that was released. All we know is that 2 did shoot, and it's hard to tell from the video even exactly who. I think that the officer behind him was probably the first person to shoot.
Well, yeah, the officer behind him was the first person to shoot, yes.
So honestly, I think the impasse here is on whether or not he reached for his weapon. Because
Kind of, but there is no real impasse here because in any other world you would never agree. Because the analysis you've given has given a carte blanche to basically execute anybody that concealed carries. Maybe you're an anti-Second Amendment guy. You might be. I don't know your political background. I'd be surprised if you were. You're probably not. But you've given basically an excuse for a cop to assassinate anybody because they try to tackle somebody and arrest them, and the guy's been pepper sprayed and his hands are flailing. If they don't perfectly comply, then they die. That's the rule that you've written right here.
If they don't perfectly comply and they're armed, yes, they're held to a higher standard.
Okay, not if they're held to a higher standard. If they don't perfectly comply and they're armed, they die.
Well, no, not if they don't perfectly comply. You can resist without showing movements towards reaching for your wrist.
How? On the ground?
I'm just saying it's possible. It's not.
You
logically
understand that,
impossible for people to do this.
like Euclidean geometry, your hand can only move in one direction, and once it's up here, any movement is a movement towards your waist, right? Like, what do you mean? What are we talking about? Like, any movement can be perceived. You're on the ground. If you reach forward to go down, you saw the execution of the Chris Shaver guy on video, right? He tried to pull his pants up, and he was already on his hands and knees, and that was interpreted as him reaching for his waistband. Any movement of your arm from this position is going to necessarily, in this universe, and in all the ones that I know, where geometry works the way that it does, is going to be a movement towards the waistband. So just own the rule at least, so that this happens to somebody in the future. If you're armed and you resist,
you're fucked.
Okay, all right, not fucked. You can be lawfully executed by the police.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's a fine rule.
If you're armed and resisting officers, I agree with that.
Gotcha.
This may be a chance to go into the question and answer. We do have a lot of questions already. Are you guys ready for that? Yep. As usual, folks, we'd like sincere questions, not insults. I know it's the internet, but still. This one from, and just let me get to the list here. Thank you very much for your question. Steven Steen, longtime viewer, says, Stephen Miller is an evil psychotic Nazi. Okay, isn't that him? I don't know. GAI Gen says, Alexander, are you pro-soft or pro-crunchy taco?
This is a clever fat joke. Honestly, I like crunchy, but if I get tacos, I'm getting like Taco Bell and I'm driving, so you gotta do the soft. Otherwise, I'm just a mess.
It might be a sincere food question. We do get a lot of them.
Okay.
Joke. Big League Drew says, wow, you're really going to make me side with a dude with a lady's name. Okay. Tyler S. says, I don't see in any universe where Alexander is going to win this debate. Destiny is going to clear this. Easy trust. No way to justify what happened. My guess is Alexander, you might disagree still. Also,
there's very strong opinions about this on both sides, obviously.
That poll is still in the live chat. Over 2,000 have voted. Do you think Alex Preddy was murdered? Currently, the plurality is yes with 44%, no with 41%, and finally, I don't know enough about it yet with 15%. This one from Big League Drew says, I have a confession to make as someone who believes everyone should be carrying every day, everywhere. I have concealed carry at a BLM protest when I lived in Portland and even stood next to the police. Any thoughts?
It was just a confession,
I guess. Big League Drew says, here they come back. They say, is an officer justified in shooting
Dude,
if
just
an acorn
making
falls
meme
onto a
arguments?
car and the officer thinks
Yeah,
it was a
I
gunshot?
mean, it seems like it took a
I
couple
don't know.
days for the MAGAs to get their marching orders finally, but they got them, and now they're finally making their arguments. They got their marching orders, and now they have their pre-programmed talking points. So
that was a wild situation. It is a hilarious. Well, it's not hilarious, but it is a wild video.
You posed a $20.
But the hypothetical.
You know the video. Well, there's a
Send
video. You know
Stephen
the video,
Miller
right?
to the Hague.
There's a video
and
in
he will
Acorn.
win
Acorn.
easily.
Sounds like a
You know
gunshot.
what?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm already
there's a
gonna vote
vehicle
for him,
gets
but
hit
that
by
would make
acorns,
me
a cop
vote
car,
for him
and he
even
interprets it as
fucking
firing from inside the vehicle.
In your mind, though, if the guy would have struck the guy and killed him, that would have been a fair shoot, though, right? The guy was resisting arrest. The officer heard a sound. He could have reasonably perceived the guy resisting arrest in the back of the vehicle who wasn't coming out or whatever. I don't know. Like that guy could have been shooting, right? That would be a fair. Wouldn't that be a fair shoot? Why would that? No, it'd be a fair shoot. The officer can reasonably believe he has a weapon, right? You said they
I
got
don't
the
know the complete context of
New
the
Mag
situation.
Let's assume that they told him to get out of the car and the guy
carrying
didn't.
is bad
So he's
now.
resisting.
True.
So let's assume that if he told me the guy
Concealed
didn't.
carrying means you're automatically there to assault officers. That's what concealed carrying means now.
Assuming he's in the back car, you can't see his hands, right? You could have a gun,
I'll
and then you hear the
vote
acorn go
twice
off.
for
In your
Newsom,
mind, the cop would be fair
as
to shoot and
will
kill him
I.
from that position. That's what a reasonable
I
officer.
think it would be a court trial proceeding would be fair in this
Listen, he
situation.
mogs, okay? We heard clavicular. He mogs. JD Vance is fat, so.
But yeah, it could be positioned as a way of a good shoot.
Okay. This one from Big Lee Drew says, was the officer's use of OC spray justified the way it was used? Was the pistol whipping also justified?
Did they pistol whip, or was it like with the spray can? I don't think anybody unholstered their weapon until.
I think it was just the spray can, but I mean, it's similar concept.
But I do think that's you see this all the time. Cops, when they're detaining people, they will literally punch you in the face to get you to stop resisting.
No, you don't see that all the time. I just don't know if you don't watch a lot of cop videos, but that's not typically something you see. No.
Yeah.
Basil Problem.
I know.
Pal
Like,
Wi-Fi says,
wait,
Bluetooth Bible,
wait.
you are.
You see cops punching people all the time. I swear to God, I'm not just parroting Destiny here. Like, I feel like I rarely ever see that unless shit gets really out of control. Libs need to take up arms. The new lib pivot should be towards becoming pro-Second Amendment. I mean, there are a lot of libs who already are on that pivot. Like, that's a thing that's happened a lot at this point. So, like, now, mind you, a lot of them are pretty extreme. But,
quote,
yeah.
Baghdad Bob, level propagandist. I don't know what that means. Big Lee Drew says, an officer receiving a call is heresy and people make false reports. Your example sucks.
Well, but, oh God, this is a touchy subject. If somebody called a SWAT team on somebody and they entered their house, they have legal right to enter it based on the call. And that's, obviously there's tons of situations that are awfully tragic because of that, but they have to take those calls seriously.
This one from Tyler S. says, so why didn't anything happen to Rittenhouse carrying an AR across state lines? See, hypocrisy, just being armed doesn't automatically make you a threat.
Well, I would say that if he was then resisting officers, then he would be a threat.
This guy was not resisting officers.
And when I called,
he was
they
getting the
just
shit
asked
kicked
me
out
what
of
I
him.
did to make them pull a gun.
What the
True
hell?
story. Explain.
That's crazy. No, I think obviously every police department is different. If you live in some parts of Chicago and you call the cops, they'll say they come, but they're not coming.
Reek Archaeology says, do people online know you have a girl's name? Big League Drew says, have either of you ever been on a ride along with a Leo? Like the
no.
astrology sign?
Law enforcement
Oh
officer.
my God.
Mm,
Oh, a
thank you.
Leo. Oh, yeah.
Batman Inc. says, I don't get out much.
Elio.
Batman Inc. says, Preddy was also part of the Signal group chat operated by admins of Tim, quote, retard Waltz, tracking, doxing, impeding investigations, and attacking feds. She was with him, blocking traffic, being arrested.
But it doesn't look like she was being arrested. The cop just shoves her to the ground because he's mad at her. That's pretty obvious from watching it. She wasn't being detained at all. Cop could have detained her if he wanted to. He didn't want to. He was just mad as fuck. And he shoved her to the ground. Just like why he pepper sprayed the dude because he was mad at him as well.
You got it. This one from Bless My Vibe Co. says, I voted Trump, but not on a board with this big government stuff. It's hyper authoritarian. This is what the founders warned of. It's dangerous because it gives unconditional excuses for big federal government over we the people. Government will weaponize law.
I think there could be a real threat of that. It's hard to say when it happens, when it doesn't.
Basil
Hard
Palmer
to
says,
say
Wi-Fi
when it
overload to
happens
the
and
modern
when
day
it doesn't.
Hear about whether it was.
Bruh, it's happening, my guy. It's happening. And you're fucking licking the boot while it happens.
Was justified when ICE deports you to CECOT. Is that, am I saying right? CECOT. You do have Hispanic sounding names.
Destiny brought up
That's
today
weird.
the
Big League
time
says,
he got swatted.
I get that a lot.
I think it happened last year. You could have got blasted by cops if you failed the Simon Says test. Yeah?
Actually,
you want to respond? You can. Big League Drew says, do either of you carry a firearm? To Alex, are you even do you respect the Second Amendment?
I think we both do. I think I've heard Destiny say that he's been even pulled over in situations where he's had his firearm.
Steven's always packing.
Yeah, no, I encourage everybody to. It's just you do put yourself in precarious positions when you carry.
Basil Problem. Did you want to respond to that, Steven? If you want, you can.
I personally don't think you should be killed for practicing your Second Amendment right in the United States. I don't think cops have a reason to beat you for no reason.
Basil Problem says, Wi-Fi, did you use GPT or Claude to do your legal research for you? And Manar Fanatics, oh, Wi-Fi is it? Manar Fanatics says, Destiny, if you're looking for a real debate, come debate Manar reports and unblock him on Discord. He would debate you on U.S. policies, Gaza, or January 6th. I think that's Manar's sock account. Okay, Big Lee Drew says, any government actor is bad. Change my mind.
Yeah, that's wild.
Now, I mentioned they do ask about food. Chef Secret Sauce Nasty. Good one for you, Steven. You like the pizzas. Could you please tell me your favorite pizza? Mine's still pepperoni. He asks every night. What are your guys' favorite pizzas?
Honey mustard chicken.
Nice.
I just like the
What, you don't?
ones with all the meats and vegetables on it.
Really?
Did you make a face? You don't like the honey mustard chicken?
Fuck no.
Oh man.
Big Lee Drew says, I see job XC. You say I'm a brainless anarchist. I consider myself a sovereign person. You and I will never be the same. You are a clueless slave. Let me know how leather boots taste. Is that for someone else in chat? And Balance Elemental says, would you pay? I would pay to see Destiny versus Manar reports. Okay, Manar, for real. Big League Drew says, Alex, how would you feel if you don't have breakfast today?
Well, I would probably be hungry.
Balance Elemental says, when will we see Destiny back on RuneScape again? What's RuneScape, Steven?
Video
Is
game.
this like that Sonic
What's
inflation?
RuneScape?
Okay, this one from Big League Drew.
Shit, this
Do we think, wait, I'm
console.
curious. How do we feel about the Trump administration, people making comments about the guy, calling him a domestic terrorist, saying he approached cops with his firearms? Do you think that Noam Christie should step down for making those comments?
No, I don't know if you should step down for making those comments, but obviously those are wild comments to make. I don't think it helps the situation at all.
Well, when we say wild, just to be
definitely
clear, those were bold-faced lies. They were completely and totally not true, and I haven't heard her walk any of those back.
Yeah, I don't agree with them at all. What did Trump say? Trump said something stupid too.
Probably, but why shouldn't Noam Christie, if she's openly lying to the American public about an officer-involved shooting that involved the killing of an American citizen, and she's lying blatantly about the facts of the case, why shouldn't she step down for that?
Well, is calling him a domestic terrorist lying about the facts of the case?
Well, she didn't know anything about it, and she also said he approached officers with his gun.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you gave a charitable interpretation, you could just say that he approached him while he was carrying.
That's not a
but
charitable
obviously,
interpretation. That would be an untrue interpretation, right?
I mean, I could see how someone could give her a charitable interpretation like that.
No, you couldn't. No. If somebody says he approached him with a gun, we're never assuming it was a concealed carry gun that wasn't out that the officer wasn't aware of. That's not what that means.
My first assumption would be that he approached with a gun.
And everybody's a reasonable assumption would be that, right? So she was lying when she said that.
Noam Christie.
Calling him a domestic terrorist doesn't seem to be. I don't know where we have any proof of that anywhere, right? That's not the case.
Yeah, I don't
Assaulting
think
officers is not
Noam
true.
or Trump helped with their statements.
It's not about helping. She should step down, right? Why would she not step down for that?
I'm not sure. Maybe you could make a case that she would.
I am making a case that she should. Why do you think she shouldn't? You think that she should lie about an officer-involved shooting, a killing of an American citizen, practicing a Second Amendment right, that she should remain in office after telling that many lies in a row about it and not walking anyone back?
Yeah, like I said, I think you can give her a charitable interpretation in some areas.
What about him calling him a domestic terrorist? There's a charitable interpretation on that?
Yeah, because I do think that people purposely impeding in organized groups on ICE and CBP definitely tend towards the line of domestic terrorism.
But she didn't know that at the time. Or you think simply obstructing
this is
any
what
officer?
People are doing.
I'm not asking what people are doing. She made a specific comment. She made a specific comment about a shooting. She called him a domestic terrorist. She said he approached him with his weapon. She said that, I think she might have used the word brandish even. These are not true statements.
I would like to know the exact statement.
You guys want to keep going on that one, or do you want to go to the next question?
You can go to the next question. I'll try to find the... Oh, her statement about him going there with the intention to massacre people. That was something she said, right?
I would like to see exactly. I did see something like that.
So she said massacre and dozens of bullets.
I would like to know the exact thing, so I don't want to guess.
Okay, I'll find it.
Yeah, I'm trying to too. Sorry.
Big League Drew said, so when did y'all become use of force experts? Because both of you sound kind of dumb, although I agree with Destiny's conclusion.
Cool.
Okay, sorry about these. Big League Drew says, Alex, what do you think the result would have been if that single officer never went over and shoved two ladies and OC'd Alex?
Yeah, I mean, if he didn't detain or try to detain Alex Preddy, then yeah, he probably wouldn't have gotten shot.
This one from Big League Drew says, what are your thoughts on Kristi Noem's description of what happened? What are your thoughts about Donald Trump calling him a terrorist?
I think Donald Trump said something other than that was stupid. Again, I already said the domestic terrorism stuff, but he said something. What else? What did he say? Did you find Noem yet?
Mm-hmm. So this is what she said. She said, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
Yeah, I think, like I said, some areas of that can be given a charitable interpretation. Like even the last part, she didn't say he.
So when she said
to massacre.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun, you think that's a fair statement?
And what is this something that she spoke, or
This is something she spoke. She's giving a presser. This is on January 24th, so 3 days ago. So she's reading a statement.
Yeah, I think it would be responsible for her to walk back some of those statements, whether she meant them in a certain way or not.
So when they say the officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently, do you think that's a fair characterization of what happened?
In the last few seconds, yes.
At what point what behavior of his would you characterize as violent?
Resisting arrest.
And what behavior was violent?
Him struggling with officers is inherently violent.
Struggling is always violent. So if I were to come up behind somebody and I were to try to choke them and they were trying to struggle away from me, would you consider their behavior violent? You would characterize their behavior.
Of course. They're meeting violence with violence.
Do you think most people would interpret it that way?
Altercation.
Being in a violent altercation is because one person has made it violent, not because the other person is responding with violence. I don't think most people consider struggle as violence.
You can't struggle violently?
You could struggle violently. I didn't say you can't struggle violently. I just said that not everybody would consider all struggle.
Moving into time where
just trying to escape from somebody or get away from somebody. Where you're not striking them or hitting them or attacking them. I think most people would characterize that as violent.
VA
I think violently resisting an officer, struggling with an officer, because you don't have any duty to be detained by a citizen.
At least they're getting
Nobody said that. I'm just saying you wouldn't characterize it as
serious
violent
backlash on it,
if a person's trying to escape from
finally.
somebody.
I would.
If somebody sat on somebody and that person was trying to get away, they were trying to crawl away, maybe roll the person off of them, would you say that person is acting violently?
Yes, if I push you, that's violence, right? So if you're on top of me and I push you, that's violence. It's a very low level of violence, but it is violence.
By trying to get up on your hands and knees with the other person sitting on you, that's a violent action.
Yes, you're trying to push them off of you.
Okay. In the video that we watched, there's not a single point where Preddy is pushing an officer, hitting an officer, shoving an officer.
He's resisting them.
I understand that, but there's not a single point where he's pushing an
inherent
officer,
violence.
hitting an officer, striking an officer. That's never happening, right?
What's the lowest level of violence you could think of?
Some type of forceful, probably just some type of forceful contact, I guess.
Right. Was he making any sort of forceful contact with officers?
Not really, just in response to them. Like trying to like
So
escape
he's being
them.
violent in response to their
I
detention.
don't know if I would say that. If I punched somebody in the face, I wouldn't say that their face inflicted violence on my fist. I don't think I would use that phraseology. I don't think you would
I wouldn't
use.
agree there either.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I was holding somebody and they were trying to squirm away from me, I wouldn't say they were being violent while I was holding onto them. I would say I was being violent. They're trying to escape. I think that's what everybody would describe that as.
So what were they using to escape? They weren't using violence?
No, it doesn't seem like. I don't see any violence. He's trying to crawl
They
away.
weren't using forcible contact to escape?
I don't see that. Do you see that? If somebody's trying to hold your arm
shaking
out,
up against somebody?
that's violent to you?
Yes, it's violence.
Okay. I think that's. I don't think you believe that, but.
This one from, do appreciate your question. Big League Drew says, someone did
Wait,
die
also,
from
hold on.
one-
Also, this statement. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. This doesn't even make it sound like he's trying to not be arrested. It sounds like they're trying to take his 9mm semi-automatic handgun away from him, and then he's reacting violently.
Again, I think she's not being careful at
I'd
all
love
with
to
her
hear this
language
guy
here. She should
call a
walk
grape
back some of
victim
it.
who's trying to
But
resist their time.
She's not.
Yeah.
She's lying.
Terrible
There is no
interpretation.
charitable interpretation. Nobody's going to hear
They
that.
tried
way.
to disarm
That's
him.
crazy,
They successfully
chat. Why
disarmed him,
isn't
and he did
he
react
carrying
violently.
But nobody's going to hear that way.
Okay,
Wait,
but she's
I'm
not-
curious. Let's say that you and I had to put money on this. Let's say that we get 100 people in a room, and I describe to 100 people. Here's a scenario that I'm describing to you.
Clearly,
An individual
he was
approached U.S. Border
asking
Patrol officers
for
with a
it.
9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed
You know, and a lot of people who concealed carry bring extra mags with them too. Like, this is not an unheard of thing.
suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. If I were to describe that people to 100, that situation to 1,000 people, what percentage of them, how many of them would describe what actually happened?
In retrospect, we can always
Not a large percentage, I would agree.
My guess would be 0.
go.
So if 1,000 people were to hear something and if 0 people would accurately describe it, wouldn't we say that she's lying? If nobody's understanding, what's the point of spoken word at that point?
No, I don't think you could speak of any engagement in the way that, in as short as Chrissy Nome did, and have a bunch of people describe exactly the situation back to you.
Really?
Yeah.
If I were to say a man intervened between an officer that was attempting to detain a woman, in the course of the officer then attempting to detain the man, officers discovered a weapon, disarmed him, were unaware that he was disarmed and fired on the man and killed him. Do you think that I think my explanation might have been shorter than hers. Do you think that would get out of 1,000 people at least half of them to describe what happened correctly?
Probably not half, but I would say it's clearer.
They would get the gist of it. Maybe not exactly what's happened. They would get the gist of what's happened. No?
But then once you know what happened and you look at Chrissy Nome's statement, you can still see flaws and she's not clear. But there are elements in which you say, okay, I can see why she said that. You can't.
Do you
can't
really
give her any
believe
charity
this?
at all and see that?
It's not about charity, dude.
Yes, it is. You're trying to misunderstand her as much as you can. To
If you said you mentioned having a kid, hold on. If your wife said if your wife asked you, were you hanging out with a girl last night? And you were, but you were hanging out with a girl at 12:01 a.m. and you said no, and then later on you're like, you lied, you were with this girl past midnight. We say, no, that's the next morning. It's not last night, it's the next day. Do you think that's a fair and accurate thing? Do you think you can apply charity there, and that you've understood what's being said?
No, because what she was asking, that would be lying because what she was asking.
Yes, and in this
Not because
case,
of what I said.
yeah, but in this case where she's saying an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. Already in our mind, we're thinking, okay, he probably has it out. Maybe not, but it sounds like he does. And then the next sentence is, the officers attempted to disarm this individual. Okay, well, they're trying to take it from him because they've seen the gun, obviously. But the armed suspect reacted violently. What was he doing, shooting at them? Well, I'm not sure. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. So he must have been shooting or kicking him or hitting or threatening to take the gun out or something, right? None of what she's saying here is conveying an accurate picture. There is no level of charitability to apply her. She's just lying.
No, it would be like if you said someone approached me with methamphetamine. Does that mean they have it out in their hand and they're trying to give it to me?
That would be my assumption, yes. Somebody
Really?
approached me with meth means somebody's trying to sell you meth. You think if they have it in their pocket?
If a person was making a press conference and they approach you, and first of all, yes, people don't just have meth in there. Like, hey, yo, you want some? It's usually a verbal thing at first.
Yeah, that would be the assumption. They're approaching to sell something. He approached with meth.
Right, but if it said someone said he approached officers with methamphetamines, that doesn't necessarily mean he had them out or obvious to officers. It's that he approached them and he had them on his person.
But then you would say that.
You
right?
could interpret
Trump's
it.
No, you would clarify because language matters. Because words matter. And you're not on a time limit. You would just clearly state that he had methamphetamine on his person in his pocket. You would just say
what's
that.
happening. Alex Preddy had a comment. Did you see what he was wearing?
That's her job. It's not reasonable. Her job is to communicate to the public. She communicated it.
No, I
kind of agree.
So if she doesn't walk it back, should she step down?
I don't know if that's a reasonable course of action.
What would the reasonable course of action be?
I'm not sure.
I don't know if
So nothing.
I mean,
she didn't miss anything. It was a written statement. It was a written statement that she was reading from. She's lying. She's misleading. She's not just being unclear. If she was being unclear, then maybe she would say different things in different contexts, whatever. All of her language is pointing in one direction, though.
That still wouldn't be what I would call violently assaulting.
I mean, I do think that
officers,
she was using colorful language to make the situation appear in the favor of those in the administration. But that was also before the public had the facts, I think.
When she worded it this way, do you think she was doing it because she was just picking random words, or do you think she was intentionally trying to mislead the public's perception?
I don't know if we can come to the conclusion that she intentionally was lying to the public.
So she accidentally misphrased this in such a way that it was completely deferential to the officers and was completely in favor of what happened to the officers and completely besmirched and attacked the guy in a maximal way. That happened randomly by chance.
No, I'm saying it definitely couldn't have happened randomly. That's poisoning. Well, it could have happened simply by her not being clear enough. Now, what are the odds of that? Was it her not being clear? Was it her intentionally lying? I think if it was her intentionally lying, yeah, she should step down.
When she says the suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds, this looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
Yeah, is that a wrong interpretation?
There's nothing that's in the sequence
like...
of... Yes, that's incorrect. It doesn't look like that at all. I don't see that at all.
Okay. All right, so then you see it differently than Chrissy
That
Nome. Is
fucking
it
thing
so
he has in
wild
the
that this
background.
thing could have happened or it could have been this way that she's completely lying to make her side look better?
She is completely lying to make her side look better, yes. There are people that I can understand make a statement like that. We call them
believe
SJWs in
that's what
2016.
Nome
People that show up with
does.
guns must want to kill people. All of you guys that defended Rittenhouse didn't seem to have this opinion before. I didn't have this opinion before.
That's the really stupid thing Trump said. I have no
Well,
idea
no,
why
we're
he
talking about Christy Nome's statement right now.
I know, but you just jogged my memory. Remember, he said, if you're carrying guns in our streets, you're a criminal or something retarded like that?
Well, I mean, that's not that far off of your position. You think that if you're...
What?
If an officer interprets you as obstructing his own arrest, if you have a gun on you, or the officer thinks you do, the officer can execute you. That's not that far from your position.
No, it's very far. Obviously, there were literally tons of people
have
doing
so many
this all
questions.
day.
Okay.
This one from Bigly Drew says, someone did die from the one-chip challenge. What's your point?
I'm not sure who that was for, but...
Bigly Drew says, OC
The
doesn't
one chip
work...
is no joke.
Says, OC doesn't work on some people. You can still shoot a gun with proper barb placement from a taser. My sister is a detective, and they did it in training. Think that's... You down with that, Alex?
Yeah, I agree. That was my point.
Steven,
it's
down with that as well?
Well, I don't even know what the statement was. What was it?
It said, OC doesn't work on some people. You can still shoot a gun with proper barb placement from a taser. Basically, it said, my sister's a detective, and they did it in training.
The barb placement is supposed to lock your muscles up. I don't believe that's possible. But that's my understanding.
Bigly Drew also said he didn't reach for a gun. You can see both of his hands. It looks like he was confused and trying to protect his head. You have blatantly lied about what happened.
I mean, on the video, what I could see, and again, we don't have all of the videos. I do want to see. Who knows? Sometimes these videos don't go public; they just go to trial. But I would like to see the body cam footage, and I think that would help.
Let me see, I guess.
This one, Bigly Drew says, explain how you could fear for your life if someone isn't holding any weapon and is face down on the pavement.
You can, if somebody like this exact situation, if somebody was known to be armed at one point and then makes a furtive movement toward their waist, that is textbook justified use of force.
He said, brother, regular LEO get like 6 months in the academy and spend like 3 to 5 days on one subject, then think they're experts in everything. It's a joke.
I'm sure there are some officers like that.
Robin Webster says, 2A citizen with legal gun is not a threat.
That's not true. I gave the court case. I could bring it up again, but the fact that you have the firearm on you puts you in a different risk category.
You got it.
It's the same thing. I was talking to an officer, and they were saying that when they perform stops, like if they just perform a regular traffic stop, they're not just going to have their firearm out. But when they perform what he called a felony stop, which is obviously a more risky situation, he will stop the person. He will pull up to the scene with his pistol drawn.
This one from Hell's Pacifist says, if he's been pepper sprayed, he's blind. Preddy didn't know what he was reaching
Hold on, I'm
for,
sorry, just real quick. That last response has nothing to do. Felony stop means that the perpetrator's already shown that he's a reckless disregard for the law or is willing to commit felonious actions. You have a reason to have a firearm. That has nothing to do with them having a gun or not. You can pull somebody over for an ordinary traffic stop and they have a gun, and you're not approaching with a pistol pulled. Okay.
Totally. I think you said something. I watched a video you did, I think, the other night on Brad Palumbo's channel where you said that. And I totally agree. Just because you have a firearm on you doesn't mean they can pull out their pistol. But it was, especially in this case, it was the resisting arrest and having a legal firearm on him that allowed them to draw their pistols.
This one from, do appreciate your question as well. Logan Misiak says, Charlie Kirk was murdered. The young children killed in the Minnesota church shooting were murdered. This individual was wrestling officers with a gun. If you want to respond, you can.
Sorry, say that again?
They said Charlie Kirk was murdered. The young children killed in the Minnesota church shooting were murdered. This individual was wrestling officers with a gun.
That guy must have gotten his ass kicked in every wrestling match he's in. If wrestling to him is squirming around the ground while everyone else is fucking your shit up. But I don't know. Maybe he just got last place every meet.
Beyonce had one of the best something. Says, please ask if this rotund specimen is or has ever applied to be an ICE agent. Thanks for hosting this. Okay.
I got a bad back. Can't do it.
Bigly Drew says, there is no video of furtive gestures, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'll find the video that's not slowed down, and I'll post the slowed down one on my ex, Alexander Medei. Can't fit this right name.
You got it. This one from Bigly Drew says, Greek Archaeology says, Destiny, Milo, rematch, please. He needs relevance. Hell's Pacifist. What do you say, Steven? You and Milo for old time's sake?
Fuck no.
Wow. Hell's Pacifist says, all he had to do is go limp. They're quoting you. They say, hide your loved ones from people who think like this. Pepper sprayed, but just totally rational and zen? Question mark. Come on.
I don't think you have to be totally rational and zen to simply allow 4 men to detain you.
Upsetty Spaghetti says, Destiny. Okay, that's just an insult. Okay. Alejandro Vallejo says, we already knew pre-suppers are the flat earthers of philosophy. Now Wi-Fi Gospel is confirming he's the legal equivalent of a flat earther too. All right. Bigly Drew says, instead of sitting in a fake library, why don't you read a real book? You're, okay. Let's see. Bigly Drew says, you don't need to be, you can respond to these. Just interrupt if you want to respond to the smack talk. They say, you don't need to be certain they have a weapon, but they need to be in reasonable fear of their life or others. And I don't think that can be articulated.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the resisting arrest paired with being armed and then the furtive movement. Keep wanting to say moment.
Bob Celeste says, can I get a where was the reach in chat? LMAO. Big League Drew says, these people wanted a golden age so bad, so they refused to see Trump as a major L. Pathetic. I think they're accusing you of having Trump devotion syndrome.
Trump devotion syndrome. I just called him a retard for what he said. I can't count, right?
Chick M says, the typical way to arrest someone on the ground is to bring someone's hands behind their back. Couldn't it
Wait,
be
hold on. When
possible-
somebody says Trump devotion syndrome, you guys always do this little trick where you'll criticize Trump on some irrelevant shit, but you wouldn't have a single criticism of any major policy move or any major White House move that Trump has made over the past year, right?
Over the past year, in the other direction of his enforcement, laying off, I think he just retracted the arrest warrants for the people who violated the FACE Act in the Minnesota church. I don't think that he's pulling out of Minnesota. Apparently, him and Tim Walz have come to a deal. I don't think that deal is going to turn out well. I don't know. There's definitely things I disagree with.
This one from Chick M says, the typical way to arrest someone on the ground is to bring someone's hands behind their back. Couldn't it be possible that Preddy was trying his best to keep his hands away from his back to avoid being shot?
No, in that situation, they would actually take your hands and put them behind your head, and then they would cuff you, and then they would put your hands behind your back.
This one from Basil Problem says, Bluetooth Gospel, other than watching body cam videos on YouTube, where did you develop your expertise in law enforcement tactics?
Yeah, I don't think either me and Destiny are experts.
Watched a lot of cop stop videos. I've never in my life seen an officer holding somebody put hands behind their head.
What do you put the hands behind your head, you cuff one, you put it behind your back, and then you take the other one, put them back, and you finish the cuff. That's proper and normal procedure.
Sure, but you wouldn't. They wouldn't put both of them behind the head initially. Like if the guy went to put, like in this case, if the guy went to put his arms behind his back because he thought he was complying, in your world they would still be authorized to shoot him.
Well, it depends what commands they were giving him. Were they telling him to put his hands behind his back, or were they telling him to?
Were they telling him to put his hands on his head?
I don't know. What we'd have to.
So in your world, if he went to put his hands behind his back, you would count that as a furtive movement, and because he had a firearm on him, you could kill him, right?
It could be considered a furtive movement, yeah.
This one from, do appreciate it. Basil Problem says, I got that one. Big League Drew says, is it okay to change your mind on this, Alex? It is okay to change your mind. We will accept you, Alex.
I think this isn't as clear-cut as the Renee Good situation, and I think that reviewing body cam footage will obviously help the situation.
You saying it's not as clear cut in the oh yeah, they might have done something wrong. It's not as clear cut.
There's an investigation on both Renee Good and the Alex Preddy situation.
Christ.
I don't know if they're allowing the state to come into the Alex Preddy situation or not.
This
and I
dude
think
is
even
so
again, this deal
cucked.
with Tim Walz, like I don't know exactly what's public. What I basically read was that may be part of the deal, is that Minnesota's allowed to come in on the investigation, but I'm not sure. I could have misread that.
This one from Duck Nobby says, Destiny sounds like a homosexual talking version of a little wind-up toy.
Thanks.
Trying to imagine that. Petromandius, thanks for your question, says, if
Gotta love those useless ad hominem fucking comments that had nothing.
this was murder, it
But
was
that's
Waltz
okay.
and Flanagan
We know-
who murdered
we know
him.
who
They are
y'all
guilty of
are.
seditious conspiracy with a felony murder enhancement.
Yeah, I don't think anybody could really make that case.
Shizu Hiwima says, question for Destiny, do you believe ICE agents need to be afraid to keep them in line, similar to your arguments about conservatives needing to fear for their lives during the last election?
Absolutely. I would go and I would quote every single conservative and libertarian that proudly had the "Don't Tread on Me" flags and that they believed in the Second Amendment, and were constantly quoting that the tree of liberty constantly needs to be refreshed with the blood of patriots thing. All of our public officials should have a healthy fear of the population, such that they don't feel like they could murder us with impunity and nothing bad would happen. I support people open carrying. I support people organizing their communities. I don't think there should ever be a case in the United States where officers feel like they can go into a neighborhood and start murdering its citizens with no recourse.
I don't think any officer thinks that.
Well, you do. I mean,
Jordan Lockman says,
kind of bad faith.
Well, you seem to think that if a guy gets in front of a cop, the cop has the authority to begin pepper spraying him and then tackle him, and then if the guy's on the ground and he can't orient himself quick enough, he could be executed if he's a Second Amendment practitioner. So that's your position.
Yeah, if he's armed and resisting officers, yeah, I think that could be justified use of force. I don't see how that means that I think cops can just go and murder people in neighborhoods, though.
Okay. I mean, if a cop walks up and shoves a lady to the ground, and a decent man sees that happening and was like, "Hey, don't do that," and stands in front of the cop, at that point,
And what's the context of the situation?
looks like the cop's just pissed off. You can't articulate to me an investigation that the cop is performing, can you?
The DHS said they were doing it. They literally have 3,000 federal agents consistently doing these operations.
Did 3,000 federal agents push her to the ground, or was it one federal agent? It looked like one federal agent.
It's the reason that those federal agents are there. I guarantee you, those federal agents don't live there. They're there
Was
to
he-
work.
but he wasn't
They
performing
were
an
working
investigation. Yeah, I'd see him
Even if
doing
he
one.
wasn't performing a specific investigation, as long as he was driving government property and patrolling, that would exactly be federal duty.
Yeah, to arrest her maybe, but not to shove her or push her to the ground.
Yes, to shove her and push her when she doesn't listen to commands to lawfully disperse.
Yeah, that's not how that works. There's a reason why you have no case law that backs you up here on this.
Jordan Lockman says, Destiny, debate Jay Dyer. Every debate you have is pointless under your own stupid worldview. Debate Jay. This one from Chick M says, Preddy never moves his hands toward his waist before he was shot. Listen to the audio. There was no misfire from Preddy's firearm. The officer in the black beanie shot Preddy.
Yeah, and that's why I said there was one video that shows what could be the slide movement, and the only reason, because the first time I saw the video, I was like, I don't know, that's a stretch. But then the specific
Literally
type
all
of gun,
just memes
I actually
of this
remember
guy,
when
yeah.
it was being talked about several months ago, maybe a year
Well,
ago,
that's a lot
where
of
this
these
specific gun was
guys,
giving
man.
people a
I'm
lot
just
of
so
problems in the
tired
misfiring
of them.
department.
So
So that's when I
tired
started
of
to
the
take the
meme politics.
theory a little bit more
Believe this
seriously,
guy
and I just
actually
added it in.
deserves- he just wants his name out there.
It could
Yeah,
be a case, but not
because
be.
he's
Based on the last report, I don't think it was,
he's
because
sort
they
of
didn't mention
going
it. It seemed
back
to be
and
a big
forth
fact
on it
potentially.
and hedging a lot of stuff.
You got it.
And it's
Inner
just
Shoes
like,
Apologetics says, Alex, how can you say probability doesn't matter in this case when the debate
they're
itself
trying
is
to
an
do
evaluation
their
of probabilities?
duty
Destiny
defending
asked the right questions.
conservators.
I forget exactly the context in which we were speaking. Do you remember, Destiny?
You have to
Do their
probabilistically assess the
trusted
likelihood of this guy
duty.
being violent against you. You can't just assume every single person has 2 guns and kill them.
Well, I would say that just because it's not that probability doesn't matter, but just because it's a low probability, because the risk is life or death, that means you should assume that the person is not completely disarmed unless you have searched and seized all the weapons on them.
No, but it's just the idea that like you would weigh the probability of being in danger based on the totality of the circumstances.
It's kind of like in epistemology when you would grant something as knowledge or not knowledge based on the weight of the thing.
Maybe it's
so
maybe.
it's like if you were to sit on a chair on the edge of Mount Everest, how much would you have to trust that chair in order to know that you'll be safe? Versus just a chair that you sit down in your computer room there, you're obviously just going to trust that chair. When you're on the side of Mount Everest, you're going to look at that chair and you're going to investigate that chair and test it out a bit before you actually sit on the side of a mountain that you could fall to your death if the chair breaks or doesn't hold you. So in a situation where even though the probability is low, you have to weigh it very heavily because the risk of being wrong is life or death.
Let's say that you were carrying out an arrest warrant for a guy that you have probable cause to assume that this guy killed another person with a pistol, we'll say with an AR-15. Okay. Let's say that officers pull up and they see this guy walking outside of a building and there is a guy next to him. And then let's say that the guy that you're pulled up to arrest, let's say that he reveals that he had in front of him, he's got an AR-15, he turns and he aims at this guy to go to shoot the dude. Do you think officers would have a right to shoot and kill the guy aiming the AR-15?
Yeah.
What if you were outside of an airsoft arena? Would that change the calculation whatsoever, or would you still shoot and kill him?
No, yeah, that would change.
That's my whole point.
What do you mean? Explain.
As in the totality of the circumstances leading up to it. He could still have an AR-15 and really truly kill the guy, right? You said the 1%. He could. It could be a real gun. But the totality of the circumstances leading to when you enact your violent force, you're going to consider where you are, what the circumstances leading up to an event are. If that Alex Preddy guy had been fighting and brawling with officers and had been talking shit, like he was being violent or whatever, and then the same situation plays out, I'm a lot more sympathetic to the officers for why they would be on edge for this guy, resisting. They said they were going to arrest him or whatever. That would heavily factor into the officer thinking this guy's ready to fight and maybe die. But if the guy got pushed, pepper sprayed, tackled in like 5 seconds, and then he's getting the shit beat out of him, and then like 5 officers are all of a sudden on him, I'm not thinking. And the calculation for a reasonable officer is not as much. Oh, this guy's a fucking murderer. He's getting the shit beat out of him. He's like struggling on the ground.
Pistol.
Here's the misstep in your analogy here, hypothetical. You asked me if it was an airsoft place. Does the cop know that?
Yeah, we'll say he does. Just like the cop here knows that Preddy's not fighting with the dude. He's not fighting with the guy. He doesn't talk shit. He's not making threat. The officer knows whether he's been in a fight with Preddy, of course.
Arrest and he's armed.
After he's been tackled. After he's been. Oh, you've left the world of induction and now you've gone to deduction or whatever. No, he doesn't know 100%. Wait, you've abandoned the argument. You've abandoned the argument. It wasn't about if he knew it. It was an induction question. And we can't.
Let me finish. Not only does he not know the intentions, the courts don't
weren't there
hold
some
him to the
people
standard
saying
of trying to guess his
there
intentions.
might have been an accidental
No, they don't.
What do you think a reasonable officer standard is? What do you think they're trying to assess?
Yes, an officer doesn't need to know the intent of somebody reaching for their waistband.
No, they have to assess it. What a reasonable officer would think.
Okay, well, yes, in a situation where they're reaching for their waistband, a reasonable officer would think they could be grabbing a weapon, so I can fire.
It depends on what's leading up to that. If a cop walks up to me and the cop says, "Give me your fucking ID," and I reach down to my pocket and then I hand him my wallet, as opposed to a cop getting a call saying there was a dude walking around, describing me, 6'5", blue eyes, perfect hair, and they say this guy we think is a gun, and an officer walks up to me like, "Hey," and then I turn around and reach for my pocket, even if I am pulling my wallet, right? There's a different set of circumstances leading to both of these events. In the first one,
I believe you.
How?
The cop knew he was armed.
No. That's already by the time he's tackled and resisting quote-unquote arrest.
That was for sure. I just heard
it doesn't
matter.
No. They're already fighting him. Stop bringing up provocation doctrine. Whatever ChatGPT told you doesn't apply here.
I know
no, it doesn't apply
Fox
here.
News put it in their fucking headline.
The Barnes v. Felix, the 2024 case is the most recent reading that I've done on this. Your use of force is like a case from like the 90s or something, or the 80s. That's not related to this at all, right? And the Barnes v. Felix case, the Supreme Court.
Totality of circumstances.
Yes, and the totality of circumstances would have to do with what leads up to the violent interaction.
But based on the provocation doctrine, it excludes prior Fourth Amendment violations.
We're not talking about provocation doctrine.
Yes,
if you're talking about, the thing that the Fifth Circuit talked about was the moment of threat analysis. If that's what this provocation doctrine is, the Supreme Court explicitly ruled that and they tossed that moment of threat analysis. Okay, well this provocation doctrine it has nothing to do with this. I've already spoken to this. It's not relevant here.
I've asked you specifically if spraying with pepper spray is only justified under the Fourth Amendment, and you agreed.
I don't know. I don't even know if that applies here. It doesn't matter.
What allows somebody to use force? What allows an officer to use force in the Constitution?
To use force is if he's trying to detain somebody and they're resisting arrest.
Yeah, which amendment?
I don't know. Is this unwarranted search and seizure? I guess before. Yeah, but I don't know how this. You think this is factoring in here?
Because if is an unjustified use of force breaking the Fourth Amendment?
An unjustified use of force, probably, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So if the pepper spray was an unjustified use of force, that is you're breaking the Fourth Amendment. So the provocation doctrine says just because you break the Fourth Amendment and then there's a use of force that's separate from that event, it doesn't mean that that use of force can be thrown out just because.
I'm not throwing it out just because of that. It would just play into.
You're saying the events leading up to it.
Yes, the events leading up to it, but I'm not saying because it was justified or unjustified. Your brain is locked on this. I'm not saying just because it was justified or unjustified. I'm saying that it would factor into how you would evaluate the resistance of the person up to that point.
And, and that's what the provocation doctrine says, and the provocation doctrine was shut down in 2017.
That's not what that is, and that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You got it. This one from Red Boomer says Destiny has to debate the Debate King manner. Okay. Where's Worm? And DVI'd says Alexander was the only one reaching here in their shoes. We got that one. Type 35.
I'm curious. Does the guy even touch the officer before the officer decides to tackle him and everything and pepper spray him?
It literally doesn't matter because you're talking about an unlawful seizure at that point is what you're trying to get at.
No, I'm saying the officer's literally like pepper spraying the dude. The dude doesn't even touch the officer. Why is the officer pepper spraying the guy?
He perceived it as an aggressive motion towards him, and he was trying. Maybe he was trying to go after the lady. Maybe he was going to push her.
I just want to
we don't know.
James, play this for me, okay? I just want to hear you say this. The guy, a reasonable officer, would interpret.
It literally doesn't matter.
No, the reasonable officer standard. I'm just. You think that he is that the reasonable officer perceives him to be a threat?
I want to talk after we do. Obviously, we can play whatever you want to talk, but I want to talk after this. We get more information about this, even if I just come on your stream for a few minutes or talk privately. But I guarantee you, this is going to come up if there's a trial, and I would love to see the ruling on this based on the moments leading up to and the Fourth Amendment violations. But go ahead. There was something you want to play.
Almost got it. I'm just cropping. And okay, there it is. And hitting play.
Wait, are you playing this like on your stream?
Yep.
Oh. I just in looking at this video, before the officer starts pepper spraying him, what is the reason?
Whoa! Is it playing?
Well, I think you have to open it yourself. I don't even think Preddy touches the officer.
Whoa!
If anything, he just has his hand up because the officer's already pepper spraying him for no reason.
Whoa! Where is this?
Gotta watch out for those Jewish guns.
Like the officer's not trying to even detain or arrest. The officer's just mad. I don't know why you can't even just admit that. The officer's pissed off. He's just taking out his rage. He shoves the woman to the ground for no reason. Yeah, but he's not mad and trying to detain somebody. It is what happened. He's just mad. He's pissed off. He shoves the lady. He doesn't even try to detain her. He's got his pepper spray. He starts spraying the dude.
Even if what he did was unlawful, has not.
I'm not saying about that. I'm just saying at the start of this. Well, it kind of does. But...
It doesn't.
Okay.
Even if what he did was a Fourth Amendment violation, previous Fourth Amendment
quoting a sentence that you don't understand. You just keep quoting the same sentence. You just don't understand what you're reading, what you're saying.
I don't think you understand.
I understand it perfectly.
Know about the provocation doctrine. You're like, what is this?
No, because I try to stay with current law. I don't know any prior law to that. I just stay with what's current. Your misunderstanding is you seem to believe. I've already
6 years ago.
I'm not talking about provocation doctrine. I'm talking about Felix v. Barnes, which is the most recent case of this, which was just a year ago. It's a 17-page ruling with 10 minutes to read. You're getting mixed up because you think that I'm saying that just because the officer broke the law means that the guy was justified or the officer didn't have a right to defend himself afterwards. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that
it takes away from the fact.
I'm saying that his actions would factor into whether or not he thought the guy was a threat. Whether they were breaking the law or not is not relevant. I'm just saying that they would factor into whether or not that guy is a threat. That's it. It doesn't matter if they're legal. It doesn't matter if they're not legal. I'm not provocation doctrine.
He was a threat, right?
No, he wasn't. I don't think a reasonable officer would have said so.
So then these are two different arguments.
Okay, they're not. But
yes, you're making two completely different arguments. You're saying, okay, he was never having a use of force. He was never a threat, right? You're saying he was never a threat.
Preddy, I don't believe a reasonable officer would think he's a threat. No.
Right, and then you're saying the officer put him into a circumstance in which he was a threat.
No, I don't think he was a threat ever. At what point was he a threat?
Those are two different arguments.
When is he threatening the officers? What is the threat part?
All right, so then the officer didn't put himself in a situation in which Preddy was a threat.
Correct. He didn't, because Preddy was never a threat. You're welcome.
That's a contradiction.
What am I contradicting?
There's a threat and there's no threat.
My position from the very beginning is that there's no threat. That's why the shoot was unjustified. If there's a threat, then the shoot would be justified.
Then why are you making the argument that the circumstances led to there being a threat?
I'm not. I'm saying that a different set of circumstances could have led to a reasonable officer perceiving there to be a threat. But that's a different set of circumstances didn't arise. We have to deal with what we have now. And this one doesn't arise to a reasonable officer thinking there's a threat.
This one coming in from Big Leafy Tree says we need more highly trained civilians to survive ICE encounters. And then Type 35 says Alex Preddy had his phone in the hand that moved towards the waist. How could he reach for his gun when he was holding his phone?
Apparently getting DDoS while
again,
playing
these
last night.
split-second decisions. You can't say that someone can't drop a phone and pick up a gun. But I do think it is weird. He has something in his left hand too. Maybe he grabbed something off of the lady by accident when he grabbed onto her, which was also weird. Why do you think he grabbed onto that lady?
Well, initially, I think he was trying to help her stand. And then I think he was probably losing his senses because the retarded pig fuck cop was just spamming like crowd control pepper spray in this guy's face. So he was probably just grasping for anything at that point. I'm pretty sure what he has in his other hands at the point he's on the ground are his glasses.
That makes sense.
This one from Where's Worm says, Alex, for fun, assume Destiny is right. You're at a Nazi rally and a lefty cop pepper sprays you and they dogpile you on all fours. What do you do?
Well, the cops aren't right or left. This is lefty cop bullshit. The cops are there doing their job. And if I now, whether or not you think he was actually impeding, he was there instigating. Now, you could say it was legal, like he was just using his First Amendment. That's fine. We actually don't know all of the entirety of what happened, and I'm sure it will come out. But if he was like on that line of impeding, and an officer made the decision that he was in fact obstructing or impeding, then you at that point, you don't fight the law in the street, you fight it in court.
Can you be instigating just by legally protesting?
Well, I would say when you use instigating, it's not in a obstruction way or.
Sure. So you could be
in a legal
instigating,
way.
but still be doing a legal thing, right?
Yes.
Would you agree that
Like
ICE
the
is
whistles.
instigating by being deployed to Minnesota like this? The Trump's goal was to instigate with ICE, even if it was legal?
Yeah, I would say so.
This one from
And I think-
Laser.
Like using the whistles is instigating, right? But it's legal.
Laser 0231 says, Destiny, let's say that Preddy is not disarmed. If Preddy clearly reaches for his gun and is shot by officers, would the previous circumstances be dispositive towards a self-defense justification?
I don't think you can put somebody in a position where 95% of people can be interpreted as using violence. I think that the behavior prior to this was just so out of line that it would be hard to justify them doing almost anything and having a reasonable use of force to kill a guy. It makes it very, very, very hard when the whole situation leading up to it seems to be completely unjustified.
Doom Spiral says, was the Ashley Babbitt situation a justified enforcement action?
That's for me.
Either of you.
And I was obviously yes, of course.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's enough of this for now, guys. All right. I'm going to be back in about 3 hours for the later stream. We'll keep up with the Alex Preddy stuff. Good hanging out with you guys. Thanks for coming by. I will talk to you all soon. Everybody have fun. Bye.